Hi, I'm Kyle.
And I'm Trevor, and welcome to Catching Up on Cinema. If you're not familiar with the program, Catching Up on Cinema is a podcast wherein Kyle and I typically take turns introducing one another to movies. And in this way, we help each other to catch up on our cinema. Today is kind of a special event on the show. I say kind of because this is our official 50th episode. Official meaning like we have a lot of different show formats here. We have the standard episodes, which this would be an example of the 50th one of. But then we also do catching up on Blu-ray every month. And then occasionally we'll have my brother on the show, and we'll do something we call a triple threat. Then we also have theatrical editions, where we go out to the theater to watch something contemporary. But this episode is the 50th like mainstream, just Kyle and Trevor talking about a movie episode. So it's kind of a big deal. I'm pretty excited about it. And to celebrate things, Kyle had the brilliant idea of having us revisit a franchise that I guess you'd say is near and dear to our hearts.
More or less, yeah.
Like, there was a certain moment in time when these movies were a really big fucking deal to both of us. And that franchise is, of course, Universal's The Mummy. And earlier in the show's history, we did The Mummy 1999 versus The Mummy 2017. So, for this episode, we're going to be doing The Mummy Returns from 2001, directed by Stephen Sommers, same as the first one.
Yeah, this is not a good movie. We'll go say that at the top. We'll just go ahead and get that out of the way. This is a very, very silly movie. But as you mentioned off air, it's very much of its time. I wanted to do this too because we're not going to be able to do a comparison of the Mummy sequel to the 2017 one because I don't think that's getting a sequel.
I don't know. I feel like Universal's still trying to hold on to that. Like, they're still trying to pretend that that's going to happen. That Dark Universe experiment thing, I don't think it's officially been closed down.
Like the I, Frankenstein, Dracula Untold.
Well, they kind of put like the cart before the horse. What happened was that they went balls out in marketing this thing before they... See, the Marvel movies, there was a blueprint before they started cranking these things out. Like, when they had their big press conferences and they had all the, the graphics, like all the titles lined up of like a dozen different films that they're going to be releasing in the next 3 years. That's how you fucking do that.
Yeah.
The Dark Universe, though, what they did was they started working on The Mummy, and then they had their big cast photo of all the stars that they had captured, all the people who they had gotten to sign contracts, just sitting on a couch, and it looked like a Vogue, like photo shoot or something. It was like Russell Crowe, Tom Cruise, Javier Bardem, Johnny Depp. There were a couple others I can't remember, but basically it's like, hey, look at all these people we got. So it's like something they're putting out more for the sake of like potential investors rather than the general public. But look where we're at with that. I have yet to see Javier Bardem in a Frankenstein movie. I have yet to see Johnny Depp in an Invisible Man movie.
I think the pitch meeting, literally, they walked in and they're like, you're probably wondering why we all gathered you here. Marvel. This. And that's all it was, is like, you guys missed the boat on Marvel, now we're going to try to do it.
Well, like, all the studios are in kind of a pickle right now. Where, I mean, the way the international box office works right now, I've gone over this before, but it's like everybody's vying to get their movies into Chinese theaters. That's how you make money.
China.
And the way China works with its film economy is it's like a lottery almost. It's not a lottery, it's a selection process. But basically it creates a bidding war where the Chinese government only allows a certain number of foreign films into the country every calendar year or every fiscal year. So every studio, that's why they dump all their money and their resources into one or two big films every year, is because they want one of those slots.
China. Yes.
Yeah. So you have Universal and Sony and Disney and Marvel and stuff like competing for these slots. And in Universal's case, it's like, what franchises do we have? It's like, well, we got like Frankenstein and Dracula and stuff. We still got that on lock. It's like, let's take a swing, see if it works. I don't know that it did. But that's what everybody's kind of racing to do at this point, is to take the intellectual properties that they have and just leverage them for all they're worth.
Gotcha.
But in 2001, things were quite different, weren't they, Kyle?
Yes, as we mentioned, this is the sequel to The Mummy 1999, correct? Mm-hmm. And you're probably wondering, well, why did The Mummy why did it have a sequel? We pretty much closed the Book of the Dead on Emotep in the first one. And they're like, oh, well, because the first one had an $80 million budget and made over $400 million. So they're like, yeah, you're gonna need to make a sequel to that. So yeah, we definitely Steven Sommer's actually, I have to hand it to him. Like, he knew that The Rock was going to be a big deal before The Rock was even a big deal in movies. Because this is one of The Rock's first role, like one of his earliest roles, I would say.
I think it was his very first acting role. I know he had a guest slot on an episode of Star Trek at one point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he played an arena gladiator with a funny prosthetic nose, a wrinkly nose, because that's how you designate alien in Star Trek.
Tom Hardy was in one of the movies. I don't remember if it was Nemesis.
Yes, skinny Tom Hardy, skin and bones Tom Hardy. But
Pipsqueak, yeah.
But yeah, you can count on one hand the number of words The Rock speaks in this movie.
Aku Machente.
There you go.
So, actually, full disclosure, Trevor, I believe, rewatched this for the podcast today.
I did.
I did not, because I know this movie by heart. I was like, well, I can rent it for $3.99 on Amazon. I'm like, or I can just use my memory, save a few bucks. That's a couple bus rides. So
yeah, I kind of wish I had done that, because
you realize you didn't need to rewatch.
Yeah, the whole time I was watching it, I was kind of realizing that it's like, the parts I didn't remember, there was a very good reason why I didn't remember them.
Yeah.
Because this movie drags ass in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Bad.
Like, you could take that kid and just shoot him in the head.
Fuck that kid.
Oh my god. I remember the marketing. Do you remember the marketing for this?
Every other paragraph in my notes has trailer shot written next to it, because I think that's actually how I remember this movie. It's just the marketing campaign, because there's so many trailer shots in the movie.
I know every single trailer shot in the movie.
I think I do too.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Like, there's so many things where I was like, wow, I feel like I'm remembering the trailer more than the movie.
Do you remember the Rachel Weisz? Because it's where they're fighting in their house, and she does like the 1, 2, 1, 2, and then she pulls out a sword and like slices the dude. I'm like, it's fucking...
Yeah, and what's really weird though is that there's a lot of like trailer lines that really don't fit into the edit of the movie at all. Like when she says, "Oh my god."
Oh my god.
It's like this weird moment where it's like, why is everything all grave and solemn right now? That's not appropriate. This is a goofy movie.
Those flashbacks can suck it too.
Yeah.
Okay, so
there's a lot in this movie that actually straight up just sucks.
There's a lot of what? But it doesn't make a lot of sense. So we'll just give you I'd be surprised if you haven't seen this movie at our age. Like, if you're in your early or late 20s, early 30s, I'm assuming you've seen this. But a stupid little cult decides to bring back Emotep, and it's up to the O'Connells to send him back to the land of the dead. I don't know where they've sent him. What's the Egyptian hell?
Hell?
Hades?
I don't know.
Hell, whatever it is. They have to send him back. We bring back Arnold Vosloo, the lady who plays on Oxuna Moon, she's crazy hot. Rachel Weisz. Who's Jonathan?
I don't actually know.
I feel like it's something Banks. I don't know.
I'll look him up. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, this movie is, as Kyle had mentioned, very much a product of its time. And there are a lot of little oddities that pop up here and there that I think it's really fascinating to look at the movie in its context, like when it was released. Because if you just like see it for the first time today, you'll look at it and you'll be like, this is kind of a weird movie. And it's like, I get that they're trying to make it this super action-packed action-adventure movie, but they're not quite hitting the mark because standards have changed radically in the past, 15 years, 17 years or whatever. But in its time, everything that it's doing was like, that was the flavor.
Yeah.
That was the flavor of the month. Like,
I think that the first one, I think you can appreciate as an adult. I think there's some really fun elements and there's some scary elements. It's a fun movie. It's not a great movie, but it's a fun movie. This is a fun movie for a kid. I think this is more of a kid's movie because of the action. Well, I feel like I had a lot of fun rewatching this because it was a bit more action-packed, and the dumb shit just went right over my head. I'm like, I don't care about that. Let's get to the fun stuff.
John Hannah is the name of the actor who plays Jonathan, by the way.
Yeah.
But I think you hit the nail on the head. That's actually something I was writing in my notes while I was watching the movie. This movie's for kids.
Yeah.
That's, I think, 100% of the reason why the child is in the movie as much as he is.
Well, it's got the fucking Rock.
That's not so much. Like, wrestling at this point... No, at this point in history, wrestling was in its, like, attitude era.
Can you smell
what the Rock is cooking?
Okay, how old were you when you knew that? My dad didn't know what the fuck that was.
I was probably, 11?
Yeah, 10 or 11. Correct.
Yeah. So, okay, maybe you're right.
Know your role.
Yeah. One of my favorite Rock moments was he brings this lady onto the stage and he says, "Do you like pancakes?"
Oh my god.
And she says, "Yeah." And he goes, "Then pancake your ass back to Chicago."
Oh my god.
I was like, oh my god, that is not clever at all, but it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this movie was really, really strongly targeted at children. I think the idea was we're going to do the Star Wars Episode 1 with this. We're going to take something that was maybe intended for like an older audience or slightly older audience.
Yeah.
But we're going to dumb it down just enough and give the child audience a proxy in the form of a child like central character to try to win those people over.
Actually, I remember the trailer for this so well that I know the names of these actors because of the trailer.
Oded Fair.
Yeah, Oded Fair, the handsome Israeli guy.
Oh man, he's handsome.
Who's the black gentleman? I believe he's
Adewale. Was it Akbaje or something? I can't remember his last name, but I'm pretty sure his first name is Adewale. Man, that guy has had a hell of a career.
As in like
Kyle, everyone in this cast, of these people in this cast, who's been in a Marvel movie?
That's a great question. Thanks for asking that question. My money would have been on Arnold Vosloo playing like some kind of.
No, he did the very foolish thing of hanging out with his friend, the director Stephen Sommers, and doing G.I. Joe.
Oh, I was thinking he'd be like some kind of general, some kind of military guy. Plus, he's hacking off people's arms in Blood Diamond, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah. No, he's a scary fellow. I like Arnold Vosloo.
I know. That's also kind of wanting to do this. I'm like, he's so charismatic.
No, I really like Arnold Vosloo. Even those straight-to-video Darkman movies, he's enjoyable. I like him. But that Adewale fella, which he was in Thor: The Dark World.
The Dark World? Which is that the
Thor 2? It's pretty much one of the worst Marvel movies. Okay. But the point is, of this cast of people who were on top of the world in 2001, only one of them has been in a Marvel movie, and it was him.
He has screen presence. I mean, I wish Brendan Fraser was still doing stuff.
He's popped up in the background of a lot of big fucking movies. He's kind of that guy, and he's also very charismatic.
He's in Ace Ventura 2, Pet Detective.
No, the whole time I was watching this movie, or rewatching this movie, I was like saying to myself, man, I kind of wish he had like a face turn towards the end of this movie, because the whole time, like, he's with the kid most of the movie, which sucks.
He wants to kill this fucking
He wants to kill the kid.
He's not even in character, man. He just does not like this. What's his Freddy something like, and introducing this little blonde fuck.
Yeah, and the whole time you're just like, man, this guy is so much more useful. He can be used for so many other better things. And in fact, he has a couple of sword fights that are fun. And he's got good screen presence. And I was wanting him to, like, I don't know, maybe identify with the kid or something, or help him escape and then become a good guy at the end. Nope. No. Bad guys are bad guys and good guys are good guys in this movie. Everything's very black and white.
He wants to kill the handsome Israeli guy. And I appreciate nobody makes sexual advances to Rachel Weisz in this movie. And when did she learn to fight, by the way?
They hand wave it away.
Well,
there's a scene.
I've just been hanging out with Brendan Fraser. It's fine. She figured it out.
They actually address it. It's kind of interesting. Because the first time she engages in an action scene in this movie, the kid's like, "How did you learn how to do, or when did you learn how to do that, Mom?" Yeah, she says, "I have no idea."
I have no idea.
So I'm guessing the flashbacks.
Yeah.
Her past life is like bleeding into the present or something. And then when she's shooting later on, we have actually kind of a cute moment. It's like a nice romantic beat where husband and wife are talking about guns, and he's like you can tell he's worried about her, but he's like trying to cover it up by being very pragmatic and explaining to her like, "Oh yeah, don't forget to lead the target." And she's like, "I know how to shoot, husband."
Another reason I think this is aimed towards kids, because it's got Brendan Fraser. Like, I want to see Gods and Monsters, but I haven't yet. But yeah, George of the Jungle, he's more of a kid young person.
I really
actor.
loved Blast from the Past when I was younger.
I didn't watch.
I really
it.
enjoyed that movie.
I haven't seen that. That's where he sleeps he lives in the bunker and then he gets out.
Christopher Walken's his dad.
I might
and
watch that.
Sissy SpaceX's mom.
Oh,
So Carrie's his mom.
that's a scary pair of parents.
Yeah, it makes for an interesting child. But no, Brendan Fraser was on top of the world at this point, and he's charming. I really loved what happened when they put out the marketing for when the Mummy 2017 came out and he emerged from his exile, his self-imposed exile, to just like put up just like a picture of like the box office earnings on his Twitter. He just came out of nowhere and he was like,
What did it tank at the box office?
I guess it didn't live up to expectations.
The Stephen Sommers one did.
I'm kind of curious, actually. Brendan Fraser has not been in a Marvel movie, which in the current climate of Hollywood means, he's not a legit actor.
Go ahead, sorry.
But the DC cinematic universe has been doing a thing that I don't know how many, like percentage-wise, I don't know how many people are actually paying attention to, but they have an app, and they have any number, like they have tons of like serialized TV type programs on a streaming service for like all of their comic book properties, and they're cranking these things out. And he's on one called it's not Suicide Squad, it's Doom Patrol, and he plays Robot Man, who in the comics is hilarious. He's one of the like standout characters of that entire franchise, and I'm like, that might be a selling point. Like, yeah. I'm kind of curious because he's been out of the game for so long and he's so good.
Well, I think I think I saw kind of a recent picture. I'm like, he's losing his hair in all the wrong places. Like, it's just not. There's a good way to bald and there's a bad way to bald. He's not balding a good way. I think he needs to turn. Like, I feel like the thing is like once women hit their 40s in Hollywood, they don't get cast for stuff. I think for some guys, like once you start balding a certain way, I'm like, we need you to get creepy because we can't cast you for anything else. Like, you either need to become a dick or you need to be a creepy guy. I think
he's doing voiceover exclusively for Doom Patrol. They're doing it right. Robot Man is portrayed by a man in a rubber suit.
Okay.
Which is kind of cool.
That's good.
But I don't know if he's wearing the suit. I highly doubt it. But he's got a good voice.
Yeah. I said we can't look at you right now. We can listen to you. We don't want to look at you.
Or he could, shave his head, and if Vincent D'Onofrio gets tired of being the Kingpin, he can be Kingpin too, or something.
I can see that.
But yeah, we should probably actually like get to the narrative of the movie.
Yeah.
So this is a sequel, and some of the things that I feel it does right are like nods to cinema past. Like it has that adventure movie vibe. It really does feel like akin to the the serials of the 30s and 40s, the Indiana Jones style movie, like that kind of adventure movie. Some of those touches are nice. Some of the escalations, like the scale of it, are not as welcome. Like I wish it was maybe a little dumbed down, like a little smaller, a little more focused. But yeah, the core of the plot is we have two adventuring parties, the good guys and the bad guys, and we're in a race against time to stop the Rock from from waking up and wreaking havoc.
Yes, this is true. But yeah, we start off actually being introduced to. We get some exposition from what's his name in the movie?
Ardeth Bay.
Ardeth Bay.
You remember that because
no?
When they meet each other, Ardeth Bay.
No?
It's like
that was actually pretty good.
I was like, is that all just gibberish? Are you guys speaking baby talk to each other?
Looking for the chest. I love his delivery in that scene.
He's like, no homo, no homo, no hey. Jumpin' Jiminy Christmas. Yeah, he does his voiceover that he did in the first movie as well.
So yeah, we learn that the Rock. We go back to like ancient Egypt, CGI ancient Egypt, of course. I'm saying that because it's like real. Like I think I saw this in the theater. That's what I was going to mention. I'm pretty sure I saw this in the theater.
I absolutely did.
I had to have. This is a theater movie.
I mean, the marketing for this movie was inescapable.
Get your ass into the movie theater. Yeah, you got to get in there. So yeah, we get to the CGI. It's very clearly CGI. Ancient Egypt, and they're like, the Rock is this fucking awesome warrior and shit, and he's got this stupid fucking bracelet, and he says, Akuma Shinte, and he brings all of his boys, and they end up fighting. I think they pillage for a while. I think they're kind of like.
Well, we only really get one battle scene.
Yeah.
And what we're told through Ardeth Bay, through all of his narration, is that the Scorpion King has been rampaging. He's doing kind of like an Alexander the Great type thing, where he's trying to conquer all the lands across the planet. But we only really get this journey represented through one battle, and it's like, for the time, the CGI is actually pretty good.
Not too bad.
There's a lot of cloning going on, where you can tell they had five CGI models, and they just clone stamped them over and over and over and over again.
You definitely see that in the final battle with the big dogs. Like,
there's a reason they're big dogs, is because there's only 3 of them. We just cloned them a whole bunch.
They're Mortal Kombat background, like, crowd people fighting.
Yeah, they're bad.
Yeah.
2001. Keep that in the back of your mind in regards to all the special effects that we've mentioned in this review here. But we get the one battle scene. It's The Rock versus some other army. It's a big clash of humans. We have The Rock, so obviously he needs to crack some skulls. It's not terribly intricate choreography. But the funny thing here is that he loses.
He does lose.
And he trundles off in like a walk of shame.
He gets his ass whomped.
Yeah.
And, he's going into exile to die into the desert. Like, that's what happens. Like, they marched all the way there. They have no water. They just got finished with the battle. He's going to the desert to die. So he decides he outlives most of his men, because he's they don't understand how it is for big people. Like, 6'6", 280 pounds.
Oh god, his caloric intake, like, he probably requires like 6,000 calories or something just to stand.
He'd be the first one to die. It would be the little 5'4" guy that was like the drummer. He would be the one. That's the one that makes it, because he doesn't need the water and the fuel to keep going. But because The Rock doesn't know where hell is, he starts praying and yelling at the god of death.
And then Ardeth Bay talks over his dialogue, so I'm not counting that as spoken dialogue on screen.
We're not counting that. He's looking up when he should be looking down, because that's who he's talking to. And then a fucking scorpion just comes out of nowhere, and he
eats it.
He bites it. He does bite it. And then I guess that deal really worked out, because now he's like Genghis Khan, just like fucking people up.
Well, there's kind of a cool moment here where he makes a deal with Anubis, and Anubis saves him by first granting him the scorpion for sustenance, and then creating an oasis underneath his feet. And this is not just an ordinary oasis. This is a fucking like rainforest jungle that just springs up under him. And the technicals here, the CGI here, it's from 2001, but it's not bad.
It's fine.
Like, I get what they're trying to do here, and it kind of works.
Was this the heaviest CGI movie at the time? Because now that I'm thinking about it, like, bad, like, what we would look back on and say, like, that's not very good CGI. Is this, like, this feels like it was really crazy heavy CGI.
It might be. The use of CGI in this movie is an example of, like, it's like every example of how not to use CGI, of how to offend your animators and how to do everything wrong. Because, like, Jurassic Park is probably the shining example of how to do it right. You use it sparingly, and anytime that you do, make sure that every shot is set up perfectly for it. So we have our lighting and our coloring, like, synced up with our animators. We have the physics of the situation plotted and planned out before we even start filming. This is just a lot of point the camera and fix it in post.
Yeah.
George Lucas style.
Yeah.
Which is not how you want to do it, because if you give that to an animator, if you give those shots to an animator and say, just fucking do it, they're like, how? Fucking how? And there's a lot of shots in this movie that are kind of like that, where it's just like, let's put computer-generated thing as close to the fucking camera as possible so they can see every wart and blemish on it.
Oh, like The Rock at the very end.
Yeah, that would be maybe the most famous example, or infamous example.
It's been getting a lot of criticism here lately, which I think is unfair, but that's fine.
I mean, it's 2001. You did the best that you could. There were a lot of harebrained decisions that they kind of dropped the ball. They probably should have just saw that, yes, this technology is very powerful, but it has limitations. We need to respect those limitations. They did not.
No limitations.
They slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and they're selling it. They're selling it. But yeah, the Oasis springs up. The Oasis of Amsher.
Sure.
There's so many cool names in the Mummy movies. That's like part of what makes them charming.
It was really wise of them to have him narrate, because he narrates the first one too. He just has a nice
The silky smooth, dulcet tones of Oded Fair.
just a velvety voice. Yeah, I listened to
His demo probably consists of him going, "Oh, fishy, fishy, fishy." His voiceover demo.
My favorite line from that is when he drinks the fish that gets put through the blender.
Oh no!
He goes, spicy.
Yeah, I love his facial tick where he like blinks out of sync, like his eyelids close at different rates.
Spicy. I think my brother and I, we've seen that movie several times. That was the funniest moment of that whole movie.
I was thinking to myself the other day. I don't know why. It had nothing to do with The Mummy Returns because you hadn't even brought it up yet.
Yeah.
But just independent of you, that trailer shot of Rob Schneider flipping off of the fish tank that has to be like one of the more famous stunts of its era.
Possibly.
Because it's such an iconic image. Like I have it, I can play it back in my mind anytime I want.
I'm trying to erase Rob Schneider from my memory. I'm just trying to get that taste out of my mouth.
Like, if you look it up and you rewatch it, you'll not going. Okay. But just like watching him flip off of that fish tank and the way he bounces off the ground, I'm like, that looked like it really hurt.
The bounce.
That looked like it really hurt.
I know exactly what you're talking about now. Yes, it's the bounce that gets it. Yeah.
And I love that they got it from like 3 different angles because it's like we can only do this once. We don't have the budget to do this once even. It's like probably Rob Schneider had to like open his wallet just to do this or something.
Rob Schneider movies are like 98% physical comedy. I'm sorry, I'm saying those are the only funny parts of his movies. Yeah.
Very true. Although I do like, you can put your weed in it.
Yeah.
I do like that.
One of Adam Sandler's best roles.
Yeah, but you can put your weed in it.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I've never smoked weed my entire life, but I still say that to people sometimes.
Put your weed in there.
But yeah, the Rock, the Scorpion King, he gets awarded with Anubis's army. Yeah. Which I was not aware Anubis had an army who all look like him.
Yeah, I didn't think he needed one, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's a little gaudy, but the point is he has a bunch of like Anubis warriors, as they're called, who look like jackal people, who are like twice as big as I expected them to be. Because in terms of scale, the first time we see them is a trailer shot. Yeah. Iconic trailer shot where like one of them is like bellowing to the heavens after killing a dude, and we don't really get a sense of the scale. And it looks like their physiology is like humanoid dog person. So you expect, it's going to be the size of a person. No, these things are like 10 feet tall.
Yeah. They're really, really big. That's why I remember that shot at the end where the guy's like kind of fighting with one. I'm like, these guys should be running through it's no match. It is like a team of Wilt Chamberlains just running through a high school basketball team. It's just... It's one-sided.
Yeah, the Magi do really well at the end of this movie.
They're
unexpectedly well.
That's their life, man. They're warriors and shit.
I guess, but against like 10-foot tall jackal people, fuck, like good job. But yeah, he gets his army, and then we get to see him like doing the pillaging thing and like raiding Thebes or whatever, where he fucked up last time, where he lost before. And then we get another trailer shot that should not have been in the trailer. It's Anubis for no reason whatsoever, like taking the Rock's soul and like all of his powers and like. So why did Anubis give him the army and then take it away? I never figured that out.
I think it was just like, hey, I don't want to die, and he's like, well, I need you to kill a bunch of people because maybe he's got like a prison industrial complex going down there in hell, and he's got to keep it fed with souls. Kind of like Shang Tsung is kind of like he's kind of doing that shit too. Yeah, like he's sucking souls. He's like, yeah, he's holding on to him, but like he's got like a work release thing going on. He's like, yeah, you guys work like 60 hours a week. You get to sleep a little bit.
Shang Tsung's got some offshore accounts, you know. He's like, get kind of low, you know.
Those boats are not going to row themselves. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, the Anubis takes his powers away for reasons unknown.
Just does.
And then we get this shot of
I didn't even know you were going there yet. But I didn't even think about it until the second you said it. I'm like, The Rock. Like
he looks like he's backed up against an electric fence.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
He's going, wooga, 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 wooga. And they try to cover it up, like the goofiness, they try to cover it up with like a CGI light bloom, but it's like, I can see him clear as day.
It's bad. Well, the thing we mentioned in the first Mummy was when whoever takes Arnold Vosloo at the end of it, they like suck his soul out, and then he's like reaching for his soul.
Wait, no, he chases him.
He chases his soul.
It's so adorable.
It's really cute.
He chases his own soul.
Oh, yeah, Arnold Vosloo has a couple of adorable moments in that first one. He has some adorable moments in this second one.
I screen captured one of them.
Please, don't even tell me.
I'm not going to tell you.
There's one
we'll
that I cannot wait to talk about. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
No, we'll get there, and I hope we're thinking of the same thing.
I think about it once a month, I'd say. It pops in my head because it's one of the funniest executions I've ever seen in a movie.
Shit.
But yeah, let's keep on cruising.
So we move on to modern times, Egypt in the 1930s. I'm Ron Burgundy. And we get Brendan Fraser's entrance to the film. It needs to be said right up front. He is underutilized in this movie.
I would agree.
It's really unfortunate because he is.
It's Rachel Weisz's movie, honestly.
Yeah, they attempt to make it her movie, but there's too many characters. There's too many moving parts.
There are a lot. Yeah.
So nobody really gets sufficient screen time to make you care about them.
Mm-mm.
Brendan Fraser, though, I think he's so goddamn charming, and he really makes that first Mummy movie.
Oh yeah.
Like. Every line he has in there is executed like to perfection. Like his relationship with Benny throughout the movie is very charming.
I'm actually surprised because I guess he's good friends with Stephen Sommers because he's in Deep Rising,
G.I. Joe,
Van Helsing. He's in like all of his movies.
Yeah,
I think this is the only one that he's not in, and like, there's no way we can bring back Benny. Like, no.
Kevin J. O'Connor.
I love him in that first movie.
Yeah, KJOC.
KJOC.
You know, I like him.
Yeah.
I like that he pops up in the movies we cover.
Like, he gets shot in the head as fuck, and There Will Be Blood.
Yes, he does. That was kind of cool though, seeing him in a Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
He does a really good job in that movie too.
He does. He's a good actor.
He's great.
And yeah, he is sorely missed.
He's missed
in The Mummy Returns.
Yeah.
Because him and Brendan Fraser play off each other really well in that first one. Looks like you're on the wrong side of the river is one of the coolest moments in that movie. But Brendan Fraser here, he gets his entrance. It's very James Bond-esque.
I love the sound or the sound that's happening in here because when I watch it just in my living room, it feels like I'm in the theater. Because of the acoustics that they have in this, wherever they're filming this. Like, yeah, he's kind of walking through the cobwebs. You don't really know what he's doing right now, but yeah, James Bond.
But he's got his gun up. He's doing the posing a little bit.
Like, we're doing Indiana Jones, James Bond shit, like at the very beginning. But
well, they do the Indiana Jones is probably a more accurate description because the way he's introduced in Raiders, you get to see him from behind. He throws the whip, and then he steps out of the shadows. It's in stages. And it's the same here, where we see him in shadow, but we see his silhouette like holding a gun, so we can tell he's a man of action.
Oh, man, I forgot.
Then he pulls down the cobwebs, and we finally get the face reveal. So it comes in stages.
I forgot. That is an awesome entrance, by the way. I completely forgot. Okay.
I mean, introducing your character is a huge part of telling a good story, if you ask me.
He's introduced like Bruce Springsteen in a fucking music video. He's got ass and head turned to the side like he's about to get in here.
You can't see it, folks, but Kyle just did that to perfection.
I'm sorry. That was Adam Sandler's best role when he made fun of Bruce Springsteen on Saturday Night Live and did the... Do you remember that? Where he does the... Oh my God, that's great. Yeah, that got him a film career.
That and Opera Man.
Sorry, don't get me started on that.
But yeah, we are in an Egyptian tomb. The O'Connell family. Mm-hmm. They have since had a child. So Evie, played by Rachel Weisz, and Rick have had a child by the name of Alex. Fuck this kid. I hate this kid.
I hate him so much.
He plays a huge part in the proceedings of the film, so we're gonna have to talk to him We're gonna have to talk about him every once in a while. It gets a little irritating.
He's a part of the fucking plot and shit.
The kid's introduced to us via a jump scare, which again makes me hate him even more. Basically, Brendan Fraser turns a corner, spooks, like the kid jumps in front of him and spooks him. We go digging through the tombs a bit, and we get our first introduction of some exposition. Introduction? But yeah, we get our first dose of exposition here, where the kid just randomly points out that, oh, hey, because he's a fucking Brit. The tattoo on your wrist, I saw that hieroglyphic like on the wall here in the tomb. And it needs to be said that this is a retcon for sure. He did not have said tattoo in the first movie, to my knowledge, although he had that leather
he's wearing Nickelback leather bracelets in that first one, so he could have had it. But...
He could have, but it's very convenient.
Well, Trevor, let me ask you a question. How does he get that tattoo? Why don't you let me know? Because he sure as shit doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
He doesn't know. Oh, yeah, I got a tattoo. I don't know where the fuck it came from. You know what you know? Every single tattoo you've got, you know exactly where it came from.
I mean, he was doing a lot of gunfighting in the desert.
I mean...
I think he mentions that, like, when he was a child or something...
There was a shaman or something.
Yeah, I think he mentions he got it in childhood or something. But the point is, it's a Magi tattoo.
Yeah.
So...
You think he would have pieced that together when he saw...
Ardeth Bay.
Ardeth Bay's forehead tattoos. Like,
yeah.
That's like the same fucking thing.
Ardeth Bay, who we had an entire movie running alongside with, like, who is prattling on and on and on about the Magi every chance he gets, because apparently he has no life outside of it.
No.
Man, he should be hooking up with things left and
He
right.
would be crushing it, yeah.
If he just committed to it, he would be unstoppable. He'd be a monster.
That man bun? Oh, man. He's the one who would have put the man bun on the map. Yeah.
In the 1930s.
There's a reason why he played a gigolo in Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo. It's because he's totally believable.
He's thoroughly convincing.
Thoroughly convincing, yes.
But point is, you need to put a pin in that tattoo. There's actually some attempts at some clever writing here with plot devices introduced very early on that pay off much, much later.
Yeah.
They try. Like this is not a lazy effort.
No, this is not a lazy
absolutely
effort.
not. This is like a top shelf action blockbuster.
And hindsight being 2020, you can't. That's why this is a glass half full show. We're trying to be positive here. Like, you can't look at this movie through 2019's lens and be like, "Oh man, that movie's stupid." Like, no. This was a lot of fun. There's a reason why both of these movies made a lot of money.
No, I left the theater very happy with this.
I've seen this movie about as many times as Jurassic Park. I would say
it's much harder to come back to than something like Jurassic Park.
Correct.
But at the time, this is what we had.
Yeah.
And it worked just fine.
Brendan Fraser was killing it.
Absolutely. Speaking of killing it, hello, Miss Vise.
Yeah.
We get introduced to Rachel Vise. She kicks a snake. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a cute moment because everything she does in these movies is fucking adorable.
Yeah. She's just adorable all around. She's great.
I couldn't help but write in my notes, love the blouse. It's working for me. A lot of her clothing in this movie, absolutely.
Yeah, top notch.
Works for me. And then we get a moment that's very Indiana Jones-esque, where she's like doing the clink, clink, clink thing, like the archaeology type stuff, or Egyptology type stuff, where you have like these tiny micro instruments that you're using to like shave away layers of dust very carefully. And of course, Rick walks into the room and instantly takes a crowbar to the wall and just knocks it the fuck down. Because that's how things are done in America.
they're treasure hunting at this point. They're not doing archaeology. Like, the way they're moving through stuff, she would absolutely never let him do this, by the way. If she takes this seriously, you can't just start taking a crowbar or whatever bar this is.
No!
Absolutely not.
No, these
unacceptable.
These are priceless antiquities. You can't do that. Like, no, absolutely not.
No.
But we got a movie to make, so we got to get rolling.
Yeah.
And actually, it's funny, because this entire opening sequence, like, I remember the opening prologue. Like, clear as day. Mm-hmm. I mean, Oded Fair's talking. Of course I'm paying attention. But this entire sequence here in the tomb, I did not remember at all.
Oh, really?
And there's a good reason for that, because it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
It's a very cold open. What I do remember as the first scene is the stuff in the mansion, which is fucking great.
Yeah.
But this whole stuff in the tomb, I was like, oh, there's a reason I forgot this.
Yeah.
Because it seems like every element that gets introduced here in the tomb, I was like, fuck. I kept rolling my eyes over and over and over again, like the kid, and then the British people, like the thugs.
Yeah.
I was like, God damn it,
man.
Oh,
you mean British Tom Sizemore?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very good job, Kyle. Yes, 100%. But we get some more exposition here, where Rachel Vise mentions that she's been having dreams about this place, and somehow she knows how to navigate her way through this tomb, even though she's never been here before. And it's like, ooh, kind of a moment. This is another one of those put a pin in it kind of things, because this is going to play a huge part in the story going forward. And then we cut back to the kid, and he's like killing mice, and he's trying to kill mice. I was like, that is a serial killer in training.
Yeah, and mice you should leave alone. Rats, kill those fucking things. They're disgusting. They'll eat your baby.
Yeah, and then we get introduced to British Tom Sizemore and his cohorts.
You cannot wait for this guy to die.
Yeah, these guys are... Part of the reason why this movie feels like it's targeted at children is these guys. Like, they feel like they're straight out of, like, DuckTales or something.
Yeah.
Like,
the kid's whacking him in the ass with, with a slingshot.
It's very Home Alone-esque, where we get a little bit of slapstick here, where he's shooting stuff at them, even though they mentioned they're going to go kill his parents, and they have guns.
I wouldn't pay that tall dude to do shit. Like, if he's doing this kind of work, I'm like, no. You two look legit. That tall guy, get him the fuck out of here.
Yeah, Spivey can eat a dick.
Yeah, like, get him out.
Fuck that guy. No, I hate that guy the worst. Jacques, the French Egyptian guy. He has one thing that I do like.
He's gonna kill that fucking kid.
Well,
with the knife.
Okay, two things. Like, I like that he's really dead set on killing that fucking kid, but I also like his line, "This place is cursed."
It's like his only line. He says it a couple times.
No, he says it a couple times, and that's his catchphrase, and that's all he needs to do. Spivey is just annoying because he even, like, parrots that at one point, and it's like, fuck you. That's his thing.
He gets his.
Yeah, he does. On screen, thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully. Oh, yeah, right?
But these guys reminded me of the two fellas from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Correct.
The one guy from Seinfeld and the skinny guy.
The skinny guy is from... he played the equivalent of the Dwight character from the UK Office. He's kind of the annoying, awkward one. Well, actually, in all honesty, every person in the office is close to being annoying or awkward. That's the point.
I was about to say, isn't that the concept? That, like, people are weird no matter where you find them?
I don't know. You should really watch that show because there's a reason why it's such a big deal. Steve Carell is just phenomenal.
Well, I mean, part of the reason I'm a little bit curious about it is the fact that I've worked in an office for many years in my life now, and part of me really hates it. I've done labor jobs. I've done things that were not in an office, and the personalities you meet in office culture and the way that those personalities kind of conform to that environment, it's really fucking icky. Like, it makes for really sad, weird people.
Michael Scott is unemployable. Let's just put it that way. What he does on that show, he is unemployable. Noted.
So at this point, we get our first flashback. It's very brief, where Rachel Weisz is walking down a corridor, and we get a really cute edit moment. It's dirt simple, where she's whipping the torch, and she plays it up. Where
it's pretty funny.
I like when she's trying to do it again,
back.
And then of course your husband turns around. It's like, the fuck are you doing?
You know, if you do that fast enough, you can write your name.
It's Brendan Fraser doing what he does best. And the point of this flashback is that she, like, gets transported to ancient times and sees the same place, but, like, thousands of years earlier, when it was fresh, and there's a doorknob in front of them that is supposed to be hidden, but you can kind of see it clear as day. Point is, she learns the combination lock to this door.
Yeah, in this, like, almost like a daydream, a daydream kind of thing. And she's like, I know how to completely open it. And she does open it, and he's like, okay, now you're starting to freak me out a little bit. I guess she's been having these have been reoccurring. That's why they're here. It's because she keeps having these nightmares, and it's brought her to this place. So they're investigating it, basically. Yeah. So it's actually not even Indiana Jones. This is actually part of the movie. Like, we're just starting off straight into the movie with these.
Yeah, the pace of this movie is really awkward because it gets rolling real fucking fast.
And it slows the
fuck down. Yeah. I mean, vehicle of choice, dirigible. I mean, that should spell it out to you, the pace of the middle of this movie.
I like. Is it Izzy?
Yes.
Izzy, yeah, I do like him in this movie.
He's fun. I like that he's not overutilized. He's kind of in and out. As you get as much of him as you need.
He's the Benny that's on the right side of history this time.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
And he's used sparingly to good effect. But we enter this chamber that Rachel Weisz unlocks for us, and there's a treasure chest in there, and she has a remark like, what harm ever came from opening a chest?
Yeah.
Fun callback to the first movie.
Did you see the first one?
Yeah. Brendan Fraser reminds her, it's like, well, you probably said the same thing about that book that we read.
And by the way, if you don't remember the events of that first movie, she's to blame, 100%.
Yeah, and he does remind her that it's like, that was kind of your deal. I was the one that was a little cautious about doing it.
He even says it in the first movie. He's like, this is your fault, right? He's like, you just had to open that book. Yeah.
Well, and also, he's the one that was, like, vehemently against even going to Hamunaptra.
100%.
He was like, I don't want to go there.
But she was hot, and he followed.
My God, she was hot. I like her eye makeup in this movie. But yeah, in traditional adventure movie fashion, the place starts to come crumbling down. Evie reads some hieroglyphics that tell us, whoever opens this chest is going to drink from that Nile, meaning the river.
Yeah.
And they find a bracelet in the case that has like an Anubis symbol and a scorpion body. So, Scorpion King.
Yeah.
In case you couldn't put it together.
It's the bracelet that falls off the rock when he's doing his
He's
wiggle.
going.
This is the one episode where I feel like we need it on YouTube. We need visuals because it's very important.
It's important that you know what that looks like.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't seen it, you really ought to.
Google it.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a GIF of just that
There has
on a
to be.
loop.
Actually, once we take a break, I gotta look that up.
But yeah, the Nile River comes spilling into the tomb.
It's a real problem.
It's a bit of a problem, and it seems to come in right where they're standing, so they're getting the brunt of it. The thugs who were there to kill them and presumably steal the thing that they just grabbed, the bracelet, they leave. They leave the child though.
Yeah.
And we get a nice stunt moment where we get a domino effect with some pillars falling down. The kid is like holding on for dear life to one of these pillars. I couldn't help but write in my notes, is that a little person strapped to that pillar?
It's very possible.
Because I'm pretty sure, because the way they set this up is that we get a 360 shot of the camera following the pillars falling.
Just like the first one.
Yeah. With the bookcases. Mm-hmm. And then by the time we come full circle, the kid just kind of steps into the frame.
He's like,
so
whoa.
So it's like, yeah, there was probably a little person, stunt person on that pillar, and then they just said, go, hit your mark. We can only do this once.
I think that was his trailer. Shot. Introducing Freddie. Is it Freddie Highmore?
I don't think Highmore, but I wouldn't be surprised if his name's Freddie.
I think it's Freddie. He had some stupid name.
So yeah, the kid, you asked me to look it up. The actor's name is Freddie Boath, or Boath. I don't care. But I'm almost positive you're right about the trailer moment. Him saying "whoa" after everything falls. That's very 90s marketing. Mm-hmm. That's very radical marketing in 2001. So their marketing team was probably not with the times just yet. But as it so happens, the pillar that falls down as a result of the kid happens to open a hole in the wall that saves his parents.
Yeah.
Dumb luck to save the day. However, they actually do a decent job of hand-waving away a lot of the Deus Ex Machina that happens in this movie through things like the tattoo on Brendan Fraser's arm. Ardeth Bay goes on and on and on about things being preordained. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a theme in the story. So that's how they hand-wave away bullshit like this.
you can bring in preordained if you're bringing people back from the dead. Like, just throw it in there with it. Fuck it.
Oh, yeah. If you have a central character die and then get resurrected within 10 minutes... It's that kind of movie.
Whatever the fuck you want to do, time travel, bring it in. Who cares?
Yeah, no, I would not be surprised if the Rock showed up to fight himself at the end. I've come back in time to fight you, Scorpion King.
I mean, yeah, it's very feasible.
I mean, I would not be surprised. Like if the Rock becomes president of the universe. Oh wait. Him and President Debo from The Fifth Element.
Ooh.
Who would win?
Debo.
President Debo? Yeah. Debo would fight dirty, man. Yeah. He'd throw a bike at him and a gold chain.
That's my bike, punk. Yeah.
What gold chain? What bike?
There's a funny gif where he's like, yeah, we got about $200. He's like, I got about $200. But
what $200?
When you get your paycheck, it's like I got about $1,000, and then your bills are like I got about $1,000.
That was one of the most inspired casting choices.
Yeah,
President Debo, President of the Universe, Debo.
Him killing that bug is one of the funniest things.
Yeah, the shoe. That's pretty fucking.
Because you don't know what he's doing. It's so good.
But yeah, when The Rock inevitably becomes president of the cosmos, which is going to happen, in the next 10 years, I would not be surprised if he dumps $1 billion into remastering The Mummy Returns to fix all of his effects work and boost his role in the movie or something.
I think where he's at in his career, I think he's going to be governor of California next, because I think that's about where he's at as far as movies go. He's almost to his Terminator 3, because that's the last movie Arnold did before he became governor. He's getting close, because how many more movies can you do this year, man? Seriously.
Yeah, he's a very, 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 very busy man. I don't know if Hobbs and Shaw lived up to the standards of the marketing.
Did you go see that?
I did not.
Yeah.
I know. I feel bad. Like, because that movie on paper should be my movie.
Yeah.
Like, I should adore that movie.
Correct.
I should have seen it 5 times by now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get introduced to the bad guys in the movie. And that is Mr. Adewale, and I don't know the actress's name. She's the reincarnated Anuk-Sunamun. Actress's name is Patricia Velasquez.
Yes.
Pat. She's in that, was it the Curse of La Llorona movie, I think?
Oh,
yeah.
She's in that.
Yeah, I remember mentioning that on the Blu-ray episode we did a few days ago. But yeah, we're introduced to a couple of the chief villains in this movie, and they're all in a tent, and we are now at Hamunaptra, which was the central location of the first film. And it's actually kind of a cool setup here. Mm-hmm. It's a dig site, and it's at night, and it feels very much like Rage's The Lost Ark, like the conclusion of that movie, like where they have the Ark set up and stuff. And these two folks are in a tent. Adewale, needs to be said, is a gigantic fucking African dude with a cool outfit. It's very red. He has got a lot of like jewelry and what looks like a razor blade necklace.
Yeah.
It's not a razor blade, but it's like the emblem of his clan or whatever. He's got a cool headdress and a big ass sword. And Anuk-Sunamun, I'm just gonna call her that.
Yeah,
because that's how I know her. Different actress from the first movie, but she looks so much similar.
I thought it was the same one.
Is it?
It's the same one, Patricia Velasquez.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure.
Well, because like the facial structure looks really, really, really similar, but I feel like when we do the flashbacks, she looks just different enough. But maybe she got like punched in the face in the over the course of 2 years and like Mickey Rourked herself or something. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know what else she was doing at the time, but so
probably
how could they not get her?
But we see that these two...
That's her. That's her in the first one.
Oh, so same actress.
Yeah.
Same character, eventually. So these two villains, they have both the Book of Life and the Book of Death,
Correct.
which we spent the entire first movie fighting to acquire, and then we just kind of acquired the Life book like by happenstance at the end of the movie.
The gold one kills you, the not gold one brings you back to life.
There you go.
There we go.
Summed it up.
They have both of them.
And then we get a cool scene with some bugs.
Yes, the scarab. What are they called?
Scarabs.
Scarabs. Yeah, the scarabs come back. If you remember them, they eat. They're flesh-eating bugs that will get you down to bone in about 4 seconds flat, I'd say. Yeah, these things pop up out of the ground and eat a few of the workers, if I'm not mistaken.
It's kind of a cool scene.
Yeah, right.
It's a good scene for kids. Because it's not like graphically violent or anything, but there's some imagery there like, yeah! Like when we get the close-up shot of the guy running up to the camera and the bugs are under his skin crawling into his mouth and then spilling out of his mouth.
Pretty good.
That's perfect for a kid.
But while they're getting eaten, somebody's like, that we found Emotep. Like we're like, oh, this is a real fucking problem. Like, no, we found him.
That's what was so funny is that the scarab thing. It's this big sequence that it only lasts like 20 seconds or something. But we see that they take some fucking casualties from that. Mm-hmm. They were digging in the wrong place.
It was the wrong spot.
They were digging in the wrong place, so they like fucked up.
Like Jesus.
But yeah, over there they actually found him.
We found him.
We found him.
He's doing like a Bela Lugosi almost.
Yeah, I need to know this actor's name. Alun Armstrong.
He is, I believe he's the fella from Braveheart that gets killed in the bed.
I think you're right.
I think that's
him.
Yeah,
with the horse and everything.
Yeah, like Wallace just comes in and just, that's a good death.
That is a great death.
It looks legit.
No, this fella that plays a character by the name of Mr. Hafez, Alun Armstrong, he fucking sells this role.
Yeah.
Like, he knows what movie he's in, and he is swinging for the fences. Correct. I really like this guy.
Yeah, he's good in this.
But yeah, we found him. We found him. We found him. I really love that. Yeah. Almost every line he has in this movie has some sort of inflection put on it that makes it memorable.
He's channeling his classic horror movie. Like,
absolutely.
That's what he's doing.
I got a lot of enjoyment out of his performance. And then they find Imhotep, and they do a thing that I don't know if this was intentional or actually even what the intent here was, but this happens sometimes in monster movies where we have a sequel situation and we have elements of the story like put in place in such a way that it's like, yes, this is a direct sequel, however things just don't quite match up. So like in Godzilla movies, for instance, usually the way a Godzilla movie will work is that the continuity consists of the first movie happened, everything else didn't, except for the movie you're watching now. So we have the first inciting incident where it's like Godzilla exists. He attacked Tokyo at one point. And then where he's at after that is kind of like just whatever the fuck. Because in like Godzilla vs. Mothra, he arrives in Japan again from a typhoon. So where he gets blown back into the country by the ocean. Like he gets spit at the country.
So it's not continuity, is what you're saying. Like it.
Because I mean, the way Imhotep met his end in the first movie doesn't match up with this movie.
He's in some kind of
he's
amber.
in amber.
Yeah, he's in amber.
We saw him submerge into a pool of like not tar, but like some gooey substance.
Yeah, I mean it's only been however old this kid is, basically 10 years, we'll say.
Like 8 maybe.
Yeah,
not even 10.
Yeah. So maybe that was just how they were gonna do it. Like, well, we can't really. Maybe it's the easiest way to bring him back. I don't know.
I mean, it's a creative decision, but it's just a thing that's kind of interesting. Where it's like we didn't revisit the set from the first movie. We did something completely different, which, from a visual standpoint, is kind of interesting.
It works. You don't really ask a lot of questions at the time. You're just waiting for him to come back, basically.
But yeah, like even the second Godzilla movie, he's in a glacier, I think. It's like
I haven't seen him.
yeah. It's like what? Okay, and and King Kong versus Godzilla, same thing. He's in like a glacier, and then like an American submarine just finds him. So it's like we didn't bother to match up the moving parts of the first movie, because in the first movie he fucking dies. It's like, so we can do whatever we want. But I just thought that was fascinating that they didn't bother to connect the dots super precisely, because like if you did that with a Marvel movie, all them neckbeards would be flipping the fuck out.
Yeah.
You'd be getting all the hate mail.
Yeah, because their opinion matters.
I mean, it does to them.
It does to them.
And then the British fellas from the tomb in the beginning of the movie, they show up. So we see that they were working for Mr. Hafez.
Yeah.
And now we have a new plan, because basically they were supposed to retrieve the bracelet. They did not. However, they know who they were supposed to get it from. So now Mr. Hafez is like, let's go fucking do it right.
Yeah.
So he sends his bad guys to visit the O'Connells, who apparently live in Wayne Manor.
Yes, they live in Wayne Manor.
I noted here that like the lighting in that first tomb scene didn't really work for me for the most part.
Yeah.
It feels very stagey.
It was really. I mean, it was 100% a stage, but it felt like it was on a stage.
But I don't know if this movie is this way for you, but for me, the scenes here in the mansion, in the O'Connell house, are the look and the texture of the lighting are what I think of when I think of this movie.
I think it feels kind of like that time period. Like we're in the 40s. It feels like 40s lighting at the like.
I think it's supposed to be mid 30s.
Mid 30s,
like 36.
Yeah, same thing.
But yeah, it everything has like kind of like a woody kind of like golden texture to it, and it's what I picture when I think of this movie. Anyway, we get more exposition. We get a reiteration of the Audeth Bay narration about the Scorpion King.
Yeah.
Evie wants to track him down. Fabulous dress. And we get a cute beat here where she like launches herself off a bookcase, and then her husband just like casually catches her, because apparently they have that kind of dynamic. But it's a cute moment because it happens so effortlessly. It's like, yep, we love each other. It needs to be said. They match up. Yeah, they match up pretty well in this movie. And then we get a big put a pin in it moment here where Brendan Fraser says, "If anything ever happened to you, I would never forgive myself."
Yeah.
It's like watching this as an adult. Like as a kid, you don't notice that,
No.
but as an adult, you're like, "She's dead.
She's so gonna die."
That lady is so dead.
When DeJesus in Leviathan is like, "Man, when I get out of here, I'm gonna go skiing," I'm like, "You're not making it out of here, buddy."
Yeah, that's like the guy in the chopper in a Vietnam movie saying like, "I can't wait to get back to like Fenwick Park or something."
Gotta get to Fenwick Park, take my kid.
Like, yeah, you're dead.
Yeah, your wife is gonna be taking your son for hot dogs for 2.
Yeah,
you are not making it
like,
back.
Never make plans for the future.
If you're in a dangerous situation,
in a movie with a body count, never make plans for the future.
if you have
don't verbalize them.
Don't verbalize. If you have a job contract for 6 months on a freighter or something like that, and you're like, 1 week left, I can't wait to get home. Like, don't say a word because you're going to drown if you say it out loud.
Yeah, that to all you folks out there, that should be your excuse for why you're antisocial.
Yep.
And just be like, so what's your story? It's like, I ain't telling you
I'm
shit.
not telling you shit.
It's like, I seen this movie. I ain't going to die.
I'm not dying.
I'm not dying today. No. I'm going to be LL Cool J at the end of Deep Blue Sea. It's like...
I'm going to get back, have a cheeseburger. No, you're not.
It's like, you know that Saffron Burrows lady? She had a backstory. That's why she's dead.
Dead.
But yeah, the kid puts on the bracelet.
Oh, yeah.
And this is like the major plot catalyst that gets the movie rolling. He has a vision of all these different like tourist trap locations in Egypt. It's like the pyramids and the city of Karnak and stuff like that. It's like, I'm trying to think. It's almost like 2001. Like we even get a head-on shot of him going whoa. Yeah. So he's zooming around Egypt, and then we get introduced to Jonathan.
Yeah, Jonathan's back. He's just been like pretty much just crushing it as far as ladies go, because he's got a busty gal he met someplace. Pretty sure she's married. Wouldn't be surprised.
There's a nice offhand bit of dialogue where he mentions like how much money she has, and she's like, "Why do you think I'm here?"
He's like, "How much money?" He's like, "Did I mention I'm rich?" He's like, "You think I'm doing here, dude?" I mean, he's not a bad looking dude, but yeah, we know why you're there. But yeah, he's about to crush it. But he gets accosted before he can even close. And so this was one of the stupider points of the movie. He has this spear. He doesn't know it's a spear. I'm sorry. It's I'd say about 2.5 foot.
And take back one kadam to honor the Hebrew god.
It's like a thick gold stick.
It's a scepter.
It's a scepter. Yes. Well, yeah. For now, it's a scepter.
For practical purposes, it's a scepter for now.
Oh my gosh, it's the dumbest thing.
This is one of those like in plain sight plot devices that it's whoever wrote this probably was patting themselves on the back the whole time. I know what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I know what you're trying to do, but it's kind of clever. Where basically this thing that he's casually carrying throughout the whole movie is the most important plot device in the whole thing.
It is the most important thing in the whole movie.
Yeah.
He's carrying this around, and he gets taken by what's his name in the movie?
Hafez? Or
Okna.
Oh, Lokna?
Lokna. He gets taken by his men, and he's being interrogated by the villain of the movie.
Yeah, we have all the central villains, all three of them.
The subsidiary villains.
And then there's one guy, Kyle. That I don't know his name. I don't think he never.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
He's the little squirrely guy. He's in the room.
Yeah, he has a couple of moments, and he's the one that gets.
He has some great moments in this movie. There's a running gag with this guy where he's like a generic just thug in the background of a lot of scenes. He's visually distinctive, so your eye latches onto him.
True Lies. The guy from he reminds me of the guy from True Lies.
The main villain?
The nerd. No, the nerd guy.
Oh, I think that guy.
He's in the Scorpion King. The side dude from the Scorpion King.
I think he directed The Men Who Stare at Goats.
Did he really?
I think so.
I like that movie.
Some people hate it.
I don't know why. It's really good.
I haven't seen it, but I remember the marketing for it was really strong. And the cast is fantastic.
I mean, Kevin Spacey is a shitheel in that movie.
I mean, that's what you hire him for.
I love George Clooney in that movie.
No, it looked really good. I still want to see that.
Grant Heslov, yeah, that he directed that. No shit.
He was in Congo. He gets one of the deaths that actually scared me when I was a kid. There's a couple of moments in Congo that scared me. There's him dying because he comes running through the jungle and he's like in a panic, and then he dies of fright. Like, just they lay him down on the ground trying to calm him down, and he just dies of fright. And I remember that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. And then I looked away when Tim Curry buys it at the end of that movie. And then my mom like teased me afterwards, and she was like, "They didn't show you anything." She was like, "You didn't miss anything." So I was like, "Oh, damn it." But his head gets crunched at the end of that movie. Gross. But Grant Heslov, you said?
Grant Heslov, yeah.
Yeah, I can see.
That's not him.
I can see why he would remind you of him. He has similar facial structure. But this guy jumps out at you. But the running gag with him is that he's just a generic guy.
But your eye is drawn to him.
Your eye is drawn to him. He also has like a couple of like Mauser pistols that, you know, it's like the Han Solo gun, but like unmodified. So he's visually distinctive. But he does nothing. His running gag is that you keep expecting him to die, and then he just doesn't.
Yeah.
And then when he finally dies, it's very satisfying.
He's like Ike in Tombstone, yeah.
Yeah, it's good times. Oh, man. Are you talking about the guy from Avatar?
Law Dog. Is that him?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was him.
I can't remember his name right now, but...
he was fatter. Like, he was fatter in Tombstone. Everybody was fatter. Billy Bob Thornton was fat in that movie. That's crazy.
He was a lot fatter and on Deadly Ground.
Listen here, Law Dog. Law don't go
Yeah, you spend the
here.
entire movie wanting him to die, and it
you want
never
him to die
happens.
so bad.
Never fucking happens.
Yeah. Anyway, no payout.
But yeah, they're accosting Jonathan. Anuk-Sun-Moon walks into the room with an asp. It's very clearly a rubber snake.
I appreciate his game, dude. He's like knife to his throat, not like he's just kind of like, I've been in this situation before.
He's still making passes
he's
at her.
Still making passes. Dude.
He's still making passes at her, and even more important though, they think he's Rick O'Connell, and he plays along.
Wow.
He's like, man, Jonathan, you're cool under pressure.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he's like they mentioned in the first movie. He's a scoundrel. He's a rapscallion. So. Yeah.
Well, he does mention that like he was rich, but all of his fortune got taken away by seedy people, unseemly folk,
unscrupulous characters.
Yeah, it's like, how did you get involved with those people, Jonathan? Like, maybe you're to blame.
Yeah.
And then Adewale makes his entrance. He encounters Rachel Weisz and her child. He is there for the bracelet, and he gets a great fucking interest. He gives a Bea Lugosi good evening.
Good evening. I'm looking for the chest, of course.
Give it to me now.
Yeah, give it to me now.
Give it to me now.
And then fucking Ardeth
Bay.
Ardeth Bay. I needed to write down the fucking names of these people. He just walks in out of fucking the first movie. He just literally is in the desert, and then he walks in from the first movie. Like, how the like she asks, he's like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Explanations are best kept for later." He never explains it. I think he was living in the fucking attic, like Gary Busey. He's just living.
I think more appropriately, like crawl space under the stairs.
I think that he's doing like he wears all black and he has black long hair. So I think what he's doing is he's just kind of living in the shadows, like like people are walking at night and he's just like turning around and
doing his Egyptian ninja routine.
Yeah, he's doing he's just kind of ninjaing around. Like
bracing himself up in the ceiling rafters.
He's like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator, like swinging across and then like holding on to the tree. Yeah,
for 8 years.
He's just been doing that.
I mean, even beyond that, we're in London now. What are you doing on this continent?
By the way, great meat pie that you made. What?
I'm here for the hummus.
Oh, I'm here for the hummus. So we're gonna get down to some fighting in here.
Oh yeah, big fight.
There's a bubble bath drawn. I don't know where that comes from. That'll come up.
Maybe Jonathan.
But he was out at the club though. I feel like that was maybe Evie.
Planning ahead.
I mean, that'd be cold by now. But anyway, so they're about to. So Anuk-Sun-Moon has a snake. It's an Egyptian asp.
Yeah.
Which is crazy poisonous.
Oh, yeah.
Almost as poisonous as the black mamba. And by the way, that's one of the coolest scenes ever. Daryl Hannah with, she's got her little notepad explaining to Michael Madsen how he's going to die. Oh, it's so good. But yeah, she has this snake, and they're about to fucking kill him, which is, he probably has it coming at this point. Brendan Fraser walks in.
Yeah,
it's such a good moment to walk in because, like, no context. You walk in and like he's about to come because he's got a knife to his neck and a hot lady's got a snake up to his throat, and he just walks in. He's like, "I thought I said no more wild parties."
That's the appropriate response.
Oh, what's going on in here?
Hey, he walked in on what was it, David Carradine?
Honestly, if you walk in and you take that in for a second, like, oh, sorry, like,
yeah, it's like
walking in on somebody on the toilet or something.
Put a fucking sock on the door, Jesus!
They're not here for fun. Yeah, and he basically reveals himself to be the person they're looking for. and she just throws a fucking snake at him.
Yeah, this was a great way to start the action. In my notes, I wrote he Jack Burton's them.
He looks at the snake to identify it, as if you wouldn't just be like smacking your head.
All credit to Brendan Fraser. Even in the first movie, you can tell he put some time in handling the weapons.
Oh yeah,
because like I said, I have a thing about acting performances in hands, and he has very educated hands. The way he handles the weapons in both Mummy movies. We don't talk about the third Mummy movie.
I've seen it. We don't talk about it.
Yeah, I've seen it too. And yeah, we do not talk about the Mummy, the Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. But the way he handles the weapons, and this brief little moment where he handles the snake, like we get him catching what is very likely a rubber snake, but then we get a scene that's very clearly him holding a real snake, and he does this trick with his wrist where he like flips its head around so it can't look anywhere but directly at him. You know, because its weapon is its mouth. So if you control the mouth, you control the weapon.
His best move in this is the knife.
Well, that's why I say he Jack Burton's them, because it's all in the reflexes. They throw a snake at him, he catches it effortlessly and just kind of like tosses it back at them. Follow-up is they throw a knife and he does the same fucking trick.
They needed him in trench warfare because he would have been awesome. Just catching grenades, tossing them back, throwing clips, catching clips, clip. Yeah, he would have been awesome.
Just be like running up and down the trenches, throwing shit out of there. But yeah, he throws a knife, and we get a funny moment with the Grant Heslov looking guy where he goes, "Oh!" and then he ducks, and the knife goes into the guy behind him instead.
I think something that's underrated for Stephen Sommers is the comedy in these two movies.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very good.
Well, Deep Rising.
Yeah.
Deep Rising, I think, is better than this.
Yeah, I think
it's more cohesive.
It's more cohesive. I think this is more fun than Deep Rising, but I think Deep Rising is the better.
This one reaches too far. It tries to do one too many things. Deep Rising knows what the fuck it is.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, you don't think Deep Rising is reaching a little bit?
No, I mean this one has like Evie dying and coming back.
Yeah,
and, you know, and then all the drama with Anaxuna Moon, which to be fair is actually kind of well done. But Deep Rising has its tongue firmly planted in its cheek from moment one to the end.
If they wrote it differently, the two of them feuding would be better. Like them, I like their exchanges.
Wes Studi and Treat Williams in Deep Rising.
Yeah,
I like that relationship. It's fun, where it's like it's two people that are grudgingly working together.
Yeah,
and it lends it some good energy. And yeah, Stephen Sommers, like, he's accused for being that kind of like gun for hire type director, but. I mean, he makes light, fun action stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like Deep Rising was him probably at his best. The Mummy is maybe better, to be honest, but G.I. Joe is an example of, again, reaching too far, relying too heavily on special effects to tell the story. And then the worst part about that G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra is it's deeply unfunny.
I didn't see it. Yeah.
It tries to be funny like this, but none of the performances just have that charm to it. None of it's as fun as it's trying to be.
Gotcha.
But you can tell that's his wheelhouse. That's what he likes to try to do. He likes to have fun while he's blowing shit up. Because even in that G.I. Joe movie, some of the violence and the pyrotechnics, it's like, oh fuck, that guy just got killed. The fuck. But it's presented as a cartoon. But yeah, this is a big fight scene, and this is where we start to see the 2001 aspect of this movie, because the fight choreography here, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon came out in the year 2000 in the States. The Matrix came out in 1999. Kung Fu was very much in. Very elaborately choreographed, like lavish choreography was really, really, really in. Not only that, having the actors do a lot of the work themselves was also a thing that we were really trying to push in Hollywood. And every action beat in this movie is guilty of that.
Well, Rachel Weisz is doing the fighting.
Rachel Weisz acquits herself, I think, better than almost anyone else.
She's fantastic. Like I was thinking back to the choreography. I'm like, she does a great job.
She does. Brendan Fraser looks a little uncomfortable with some of it, to be honest.
His fight with Arnold Vosloo at the end.
Yeah, he's a little stiff. He looks a little uncomfortable. He does well with the guns. Mm-hmm. He does great with the guns, but the fisticuffs not so much.
Brendan Fraser's kind of a big.
He's tall. He's
guy.
big.
He's a big guy. He's more of like an Arnold knock people out with one punch. Like Arnold's not boxing. He's not fighting. He's just knocking your teeth out real quick.
No, there's a reason they have that edit in Commando where it's him throwing the same backhand like 20 times in a row.
All he needs.
It's because it's like that's all we filmed because it would be too exhausting for him to like lift his arm in that way that many times.
Oak trees don't need to be technical. They just need to throw the weight.
Exactly. And yeah, I've got the sense that Brendan Fraser wasn't terribly comfortable with it, but we get all the action tropes of the day. We get overly elaborate choreography, some cartwheels and backflips from Rachel Weisz for no reason that, as we said, she kind of like explains away by like her past life is somehow on top of her real life now.
She was a princess warrior in her former life.
We get lots of banter during the fighting because that was a thing.
You gotta banter, dude.
I can't stand that.
I know,
but that's what we did in like family-friendly action movies. That's
the best you can do is give me like more strong eye contact in a fight. That's generally what you want.
Well, I mean, either that or you do it like The Princess Bride or something where that is the content of the scene. Mm-hmm. It's not the blows being exchanged. It's the dialogue.
It's dialogue.
It's done in a very stagey way. Needs to be said that first major fight scene, the sword fight in The Princess Bride, it's quite good.
I just watched it not too long ago.
It's very old Hollywood, and they put some fucking time in for sure.
I'm probably due for a rewatch here.
But another thing that like the editing style of these action scenes always bothers me is I always bring up Cradle to the Grave whenever I think of this.
Pool ball?
Cradle to the Grave was DMX and Jet Li.
Was that the pool ball kick to the head?
I think that was Kiss of the Dragon.
Okay.
No, Cradle to the Grave, almost every action scene in it is actually 3 action scenes happening parallel to one another.
Okay.
And we keep cutting back and forth between all of them, thereby robbing each of them of the energy and the drama that they need to work. Yeah. And in this, the note I wrote was that everybody needs something to do.
Yeah.
So it's like we need to show Brendan Fraser hiding in the bathroom being shot at. We need to have Jonathan hiding and like jumping out a window at the end. The kid has to wrestle with somebody over the case that they think the bracelet is in.
Wrestling this fucking kid?
The kid has to push a bookcase over. Rachel Weisz has to do a backflip. Ardeth Bay has to fight a whole bunch of people. So the point is we have all these hero characters. We have all these moving parts, and it's more out of obligation that we need to make sure all of them are doing something.
But I'm fine with it, though. Like, it doesn't...
I'm fine with the kid hiding under a goddamn table.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to see him grappling with somebody while I could be watching Ardeth Bay having an epic sword fight.
I do appreciate it because Rachel Weisz was definitely not kidnapped, but they do take her at one point. Like, she goes willingly. She gets kidnapped here, but she also holds her own for the most. Like, she's holding her own for the most part.
Yeah, I mean they explain away her ability to fight by saying that like not only did my husband teach me a thing or two, I also apparently have magic Egypt powers. But yeah, the long story short, Ardeth Bay kind of gets his ass whipped.
Yeah.
Although Lochnaw has a cool moment. He has a really cool entrance into the fight where he hangs the fuck back.
Yeah, he just like pops his shirt off. That's what happens. Is he's like, what's in the chest? She's like, rise of and his eyes just go wide and they start going at it.
Yeah, that's why we're fighting over the case because nobody knows that the kid put the bracelet on. Yeah, and he can't take it off, by the way.
Yeah, he can't take it off. It's stuck onto his little tiny hand, which doesn't make any fucking sense because it was on
The Rock.
The Rock,
like not just The Rock 2001 Rock, which was kind of like chunky Rock.
Yeah, he's like he's still like Deca D-ball, like he's still on cycles at this point. Like,
I mean, The Rock went through many phases just in his wrestling career, but there was like I think it was 2003 Rock was Hollywood Rock, and that was when he was slimmed down. Yeah, because Hollywood, that's what happens.
No abs, but still the size of a goddamn linebacker.
Well, that was when he started doing kip-ups. Because he could. But in 2001, I don't think that was kip-up Rock. That was like chunky natural Samoan Rock. But yeah, what comes of the scene is, like you said, Evie gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
And all the heroes are reunited at this point. And now we do kind of a clever thing with the writing here where it's like, we just gotta fucking go.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, who was that guy? And the kid's like, oh, I recognized him. That's the guy.
Curator.
Yeah. Oh, fuck this kid. I hate this kid. And then thankfully we have Ardeth Bay around to like hammer out all the rough edges of our understanding of the situation. So
yeah, just a little bit extra.
So without skipping a beat, everybody's on the same page and we know what we have to do and where we need to be.
We got to go to the museum.
Yeah, we need to get armed, go to the museum. We kind of piece it together pretty easily that, Ardeth Bay pieces it together pretty easily. Everyone else is kind of in the dark about this, but Ardeth Bay explains that the plan is using the bracelet, they'll resurrect the Scorpion King, and if you defeat him, you can jack the army of Anubis from him.
Yeah.
But if you don't defeat him, he just has the army and he can wipe out everyone on Earth or whatever.
Basically, there's no good scenario with this.
Yeah, and so the plan is Imhotep is apparently the only one tough enough that we know of that can handle the Scorpion King, so the plan is to bring him back so we can take him out. It's very much like a Godzilla movie where it's like, let's weaponize Godzilla and just direct him towards the thing we want eliminated.
Correct.
Yeah. We get some gun porn here where, what is it? O'Connell, Mr. Rick, opens the trunk of his car. There's a shit ton of guns in there, because American. He and Ardeth Bay have an exchange. Ardeth Bay, it needs to be said, makes use of a Tommy gun throughout this whole movie to great effect.
I'd say they have good chemistry too. That's the one thing that I noticed in that first movie is that they kind of at first don't like each other, and there's a few scenes in there. Do you remember in the first one where he uses Ardeth Bay's beard to light a match?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he just kind of looks over at him like, look, what are you doing?
No, they play off each other well. And I think it means a lot to have Brendan Fraser be not only like have the physical presence to be like the action guy, but mostly have gotten there via like comedic acting chops. Mm-hmm. Although he did like that School Days movie or whatever, where I think that was the title of it. Basically, he plays a Jewish guy that goes to like a largely waspy prep school, and that's the entire plot of the movie is that they don't want him there, so they give him a hard time. It's one of those school dramas that were really big in the 90s, thanks to Dead Poets Society and stuff. Brendan Fraser's just great. But yeah, we arm up, and Ardeth Bay happens to notice the tattoo on Brendan Fraser's wrist, and they have a little exchange here. I don't remember exactly what's said.
He's like, sorry. He tells him, he's like, yeah, that's a Magi thing. Oh, he tells him later. He's like, you're a Magi. If you embrace it.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Yeah, you're a wizard.
Needs to be said here, the eye lighting on Ardeth Bay, somebody in the lighting department or the DP was just like, we need to make this handsome man even more handsome.
Yeah. He steals the screen.
Yeah, every time. It's like, fuck. And then we get the cult meeting at the museum.
Yes, this is great. This was one of my favorite sequences in the movie. And I remember it pretty vividly. What does he say? So they get to the museum and they're in like the Indiana Jones warehouse where he keeps everything, and they move the crates aside basically.
Where the top men work.
Yeah. And they're like, we don't have time to fly someplace else. We have to do this here. And they're like looking through the window, and he's just like, what the fuck is happening in here? They got torches all around. There's people chanting.
Also, it's not a very well kept warehouse either, because there's like water puddles everywhere. So it's not exactly like airtight.
No.
You don't want to put your antiquities in there.
No.
Like, mold up the ass.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a whole bunch of like cultists wearing red robes and stuff. Lockenau is there. He's got his shirt off because, I mean, he's packing. Like, you gotta bust that shit
pop
out.
That shirt
yeah.
off,
I mean, it may as well. And then the funny thing that I noticed here was that Mr. Hafez is wearing a suit because he wants to be like dressed to the nines for Imhotep's big entrance. Right. He wants to look good for his future boss. But he's reading from the Book of the Dead, but he's not reading it from a podium. He's reading it from a man who's crouching and holding it on his back.
Yeah, I did catch that. I remember that. So they're kind of piecing it together, and like they are they're gonna use her. I think they're gonna use her as a sacrifice again, or is she just being held against her will?
Well, they have that thing that they redo here like half an hour from now in the movie where whoever disturbs Imhotep's stuff, if he takes their essence, he can restore himself to power.
Which I'm assuming is in the original Mummy with Boris Karloff, but I don't know. I almost watched it one night. I'm probably going to here in about a week because it's starting to get into Halloween time.
I don't remember the precise details of that movie. I saw it when I was very young. Mostly I just remember that the iconic like rag covered, like bandage covered mummy is only in like the opening minutes of the movie.
I wouldn't have guessed that, but when I like went back, I'm like, oh, Boris Karloff's playing Imhotep. I'm like, oh, like they're kind of doing the regeneration thing.
Yeah, and in the later mummy movies, the Universal mummy movies, I think they even change mummies. It's no longer Imhotep; it's now Karis. I think
You're
it's
not getting Boris Karloff for a sequel.
But I think it may have still been him. But the point is, he's not the mummy throughout most of that movie. He's actually just an old man with a fez.
So they're doing this. They're bringing him back clearly, and Lochna is kind of like, dude, this is some twisted shit. The Mr. Hafez, this is his shining moment. He is committed to this. He is yelling at the top of his lungs, Yatuai!
Yatuai! Yatuai!
It's a great delivery, honestly. It's fantastic.
No, he's feeling it. He believes everything that he's saying here.
I remember watching this as a kid, and I'm like, wow, this is like... It was a creepy scene. Like, he's really, really doing it. I didn't rewatch it. How is it still? Like, is it still...
It's well done. Alan Silvestri, I think, did the music for this movie.
I think so, yeah.
And I think he topped himself, actually, over the first Mummy movie. Some of the action beats in this movie have incredible music. But it's also to its detriment in some ways because the music's better than what's happening on the screen.
Yeah.
Like, you know the theme music I'm talking about. It plays every time the heroes are doing something cool. Basically, the bus, the long grass. Yeah, the bus and the long grass, basically. But yeah, Imhotep comes back to life. His amber casing explodes, and he just like marches into the room.
Like he picked up right where he left off.
No, he doesn't skip a fucking beat. He just like speed walks right up into the camera, full CGI mummy. Doesn't look great.
I appreciate that we're not like we're not like taking time to like, oh, like nurse him back, like what's happening. No. He comes out the gate.
Yeah, no, he comes right out the gate. He stomps around the room and he looks around and his first question is, "What year is it? Like, how long have I been dead?" And I'm guessing he's pretty surprised to hear it's like, "Oh, it hasn't been that long." He's like, "Oh, cool." No, Mr. Hafez tells him it is the year of the scorpion, and he's like, his reaction is actually like, like great.
He's like, "Oh, it's on."
So he knows what's up.
Yeah.
Even before he's talked with the people who brought him back, like he knows what the plan is, like why he's back.
I noticed in your notes you have a line that it's so good. I'm glad you get to...
Thank you for noticing that.
Her delivery on that line is great.
It's terrible.
They pretty much get a Fifth Element thing going on here when Gary Oldman goes back to get the stones. And yeah, they're I don't know why they wouldn't check to see if the bracelet was in the box. It's not in the box.
It's not
on the box.
It's not in the box. Yeah. Adewale and Mr. Hafez, they have a very unfortunate moment where they like use some acid to open the bracelet case, and they find like a statuette of some sort. It's very embarrassing for both of them.
Very embarrassing. But he's been doing a really good job of getting things together. Like this is like you have a big presentation to do for your boss. We have clients coming in. You need to do this presentation, and like, yeah, I've got my stuff right here. And you open up your thing with your poster board, and it's like not there. Like, oh fuck, dude.
It's like, you know, you open up your Google Drive or something, and it's been like it just crashes or your internet connection's down. It's like the Japanese are coming. It's like they're gonna be here in 5 minutes. Very ass puckery kind of moment. In the meantime, though, they reintroduce Anck-su-namun to Mr. Hotep. We get a very ambitious CGI shot. Ambitious, not terrible, but overly ambitious shot where basically Imhotep like walks all the way around her, and it's all without edits. I'm guessing the animators had a fucking field day with that,
Yeah.
because that's all like stuff that you don't want to do, like, because I mean you have like all these light sources bouncing off the room, you have this character moving through space and like behind objects and interacting with objects, so like he touches her face at one point. It's like, as an animator, that must have just been a fucking nightmare.
Well, I think the creature CGI that they used in the first one was still pretty good. I remember rewatching that first one, like, it looks pretty good for the time, especially.
They made very, very good use of shadows. Because when we first see the mummy in proper, he's in the tombs.
Yeah.
Everything's in darkness, and like we don't see him in daylight too often. So there's a reason why some of the more awkward shots of him are when he's just like hanging out in a normal lighting situation, like when Benny introduces him to the guy who he took the tongue in the eyes,
yeah.
And when he takes off his mask and he has this like wonky face,
Yeah.
that's kind of a wonky shot.
Yeah.
The plan is Mr. Hotep sees Evie, and he has a reaction to that. He's like, "Fuck that bitch." And then we get the line from Anuxuna Moon. And do you want to try your best to match the delivery?
I'll let you do it. I feel like you want to because you have it written as a note.
So, Imhotep, when he's in mummy form, in both movies, they do some voice modulation with him that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It makes him sound like all big and like epic monster, you know. And he's speaking ancient Egyptian, so it makes him even more intimidating. And he points to Evie and is like, "Blah, blah, 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 blah." And then subtitles say like, "Burn her." And then Anuxuna Moon just like looks at him and then looks towards the people and says, "Burn her."
It's one word. It's burner.
It's just the delivery is so...
It's really bad.
It's like, did you even fucking try, lady?
No.
Just burn her.
Burn her. She's been in 3 movies. You gotta try.
And then, oh damn, action.
Yeah. And then it turns into a straight up gunfight. I'm surprised Imhotep doesn't try to do more. He kind of
he's kind of funny here because so we have Ardeth Bay posted up on a balcony, just spraying fucking Tommy gun bullets into this crowd, just like willy nilly. Just everybody's got to die. Yeah. He's like, I don't care who these people are. I don't care if they got kids or wives or whatever. They all dead. And then Brendan Fraser like jumps over this fire and retrieves his wife. He's running around with a shotgun, just blasting fools left and right. There's a cool gag in here where someone gets yanked on a wire when he shoots them with the shotgun. So, I mean, the shotgun in the video game world at this point in time was king. It's like, if you get close to something with a shotgun in a video game from, like, the 90s through the early 2000s, the expectation is it will go boom.
Yeah.
And this translated to movies, too. So, like, if you have a big shotgun and you shoot someone at close range, they have to go flying the fuck back.
Yeah.
Makes no sense in physical reality, but it was just the expectation. It was the style at the time. But yeah, what Imhotep does here is he's getting shot every once in a while. He's catching bullets, but he doesn't give a shit. He's just like...
Yeah, it does not bother him
Yeah,
at all.
he's like looking around and he's like, what can I do here?
He's like Terminator, basically. He's like,
And we get this funny ass shot where he like walks away from the camera and he like pushes 2 people out of his way, like, get the fuck out of here. Let me do it.
And then he gets the I think they're the Magi, are they not?
I think they're like, they could be Magi, but I was thinking of them as like palace guards or something. It's literally the same mummies from the conclusion of the first movie.
Yeah.
And he pulls out his urn of stuff, says some sort of incantation, and boom, we get a new action scene where we're running away from the museum.
Yeah.
And Nehibut Setna.
Nehibut Setna. Yeah.
However that's pronounced, I know that line by heart because Imhotep says it countless times in both these movies.
Now we have to get into the double-decker bus because the key broke in the car?
Yeah, during all this action stuff, Jonathan and Alex, the boy, they were left in the car out front. And the idea was watch the car because this is an action scene that's going to involve a lot of guns. Neither of you have a place here. Yeah. And so we keep cutting back, and again, this is an example of that editing style that I don't like, where during the action we keep cutting back to Jonathan and Alex futzing around in the car, and Jonathan panics when he hears the gunfire and he breaks the key in the ignition or something.
Yeah.
So somehow he magically steals a double-decker bus, and we get that piece of music that I mentioned, I think it's actually called My First Bus Ride, which is a good title for a track of music.
Do you not like this line?
I don't.
I love it. His delivery is so good.
What's the line, Kyle?
Oh, I hate mummies. It's such a good delivery.
I don't like it because it's like, it's painfully unclever.
If you get one fuck in this movie, I think this would have been the time. Oh, I fucking hate mummies. Like,
I think this was before we were doing that in PG-13 movies.
Gotcha.
But yeah, actually, I think that would have punched it up quite a bit. It's like, oh, I
fucking
make it a juicy, give it that suction effect. Like,
yeah.
fucking hate mummies. And Art of the Bay is like, oh, wow.
So this sequence I like to call the video game sequence, where this is, I don't know if I'm assuming there was a video game around this time for PlayStation, because this scene is very much first-person shooter starting off, where it's kind of creepy. They're in the bus, and they're like driving down foggy London town, and
completely empty, by the way.
Completely empty. And it's nighttime.
Not a soul in sight.
And these things are giving chase, and they start shooting at them from the back of the bus, and then they start running up on the buildings and stuff. And it feels very much like you would be in the back, your first person shooter, like, it kind of.
It's like the House of the Dead or the Lost World arcade game.
Yeah.
Or like Lethal Enforcers or something. It's like one of those light gun games.
Where the gun kind of moves for a second, and then it gives you the control. And then you get your first person shooter. Yeah,
and then the screen flashes to tell you, like, you shoot this flashing red thing, otherwise you'll take damage.
So yeah, they're shooting at the mummies, they're chasing. How do they get the little kid? That's why I don't remember.
That happens at the end of the scene. In my notes I wrote chain reaction. Mm-hmm. There's a drawbridge that goes up.
Yeah.
Although I think it's much more intricate in chain reaction, because that is the scene, the drawbridge going up. In this case, it's just the conclusion of the scene. But yeah, this double-decker bus sequence goes on for quite a while. It's another example of a lot of things happening concurrently. So we have Rick on the second level fighting a mummy, Ardith Bay on the bottom level of the bus fighting a mummy. The choreography is pretty simple, but I was telling you off air that it's very distracting that a lot of the mummy effects that these two guys are fighting with here are CGI.
Yeah.
When really at the end of the day, they clearly built like a mummy suit. It's in many shots of the film. But so many of the shots are covered in like this CGI effect that I feel don't need to be.
No.
Like, not at all. It doesn't make it look better. It makes it look a lot worse.
It makes it... Especially, there was one where Brendan Fraser's, like, getting choked by one, and he's, like, punching.
When he punches it, you can tell there's no contact there.
It's really bad.
Yeah. I mean, the one gag where he eye gouges the one, that's cute. I like that. But there's... I don't know. The music is a lot more energetic than what we're actually seeing on the screen. Oh, my God. I forgot about this line. I'm looking at your notes here. Sorry, I forgot about some of these lines. But, yeah, it's funny, the stuff on the outside of the bus when the mummies are chasing them along the walls of the buildings and stuff, like, thinking about it for just a minute, like, it didn't occur to me when I was watching it, but it's like, Stephen Sommers has tried this gag a couple of times. Like, I feel like G.I. Joe for sure had that, because they had these things called accelerator suits. It's basically that. It allows people to move like mummies. And then, like, Van Helsing, I seem to remember a lot of action done in that style.
I couldn't get past the first 5 minutes of that movie.
Van Helsing is terrible, although it is kind of enjoyable.
I'll watch it.
It's terrible, but it has that Deep Rising vibe to it, where it's like, this is a dumb fucking movie.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
It's dialed up to 11 in terms of dumb, though. And Benny's in it.
Yeah.
KJOC's in it.
KJOC.
Yeah. But yeah, the conclusion of the scene is they go through a bridge or something, and the top half of the bus gets, like, smashed. And we get a mummy splatted on the wall of the bridge.
Yeah,
it's very Looney Tunes style.
Yeah.
Needs to be said, Rick should be dead. Like, he should be, like, double dead.
He should have been dead a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, the way they get Alex is, like, they're just having a conversation outside the bus. And the kid's, like, still on the bus. And then just some cultist, like, very casually walks onto the bus and just grabs him. And then they move the drawbridge. And then Brendan Fraser tries to run up it, and he can't get over it because it's the fastest drawbridge in history. But what was the line that you caught here in my notes?
Like, this was my First bus ride.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm pretty sure that that's what the piece of music, where the title comes from. My first bus ride.
So yeah, they steal the kid, and oh, gross! I forgot about Imhotep. Ends up making out with an Oxuna.
Yeah, we get this shared flashback thing that happens a couple times in the movie where Imhotep has Anuk-Sunamun, but it's not really her. It's just a lady who is like reincarnated version of her, but it's not the same essence. And so he's using his powers to like transport her back to ancient times and like transpose Anuk-Sunamun's ancient memories onto this current age person. And when that happens, it seems like Evie follows suit. Like whenever they're doing that, she also goes back into the past and whatnot. And we get a cute moment here where she's making out with a mummy.
Yeah.
And then we cut to the O'Connells, and they're like also embracing each other in a similar fashion, but they both sad.
Yeah, they're sad
because they lost their kid.
So yeah, we gotta head to Cairo. Did they immediately go to Izzy?
I think we get Izzy teased, where Brendan Fraser looks just past the camera. We zoom in, and he says, "I think we need a magic carpet."
Yeah. He's like, "We need a magic carpet." The stupid Brits. They were on this train, and I was thinking back to this one scene. It's really fucking disgusting, but we'll get to it on the train. But yeah, they're en route, and the Brits are there.
Yeah,
they were sent to a museum to get the chest basically that holds Imhotep's organs and stuff like that. The stuff that he killed people for in the first movie. Mm-hmm. This guy's such a douchebag. He's like, oh, we acquired it. We had to kill a couple of the museum guards to acquire it. Like, dude, you're a fucking loser. Seriously.
Well, British Tom Sizemore.
Ugh.
Real Tom Sizemore would fuck this guy's world.
Yeah.
Like, you just sober him up like a little, just like slap him on the cheek a couple of times, and he'd just be like, okay, let's go.
I'm gonna shoot you in your dumb fucking mouth. Yeah.
Exactly.
I really think he didn't like Edward. Is it Edward Byrne? In Saving Private Ryan, I don't think he really liked him.
Yeah, it feels very genuine. There's that scene where he, like,
I'm gonna shoot you because I don't like you.
Yeah, that scene when they're holding him back and he like steps forward, but he has like that kind of like smile on his face, like okay, it's like Steven, like,
shit's getting real, dude.
Steven, call cut. Do it now, please, for everyone's sake.
That kid from Brooklyn's about to get shot.
It's like we made sure to put blanks in his gun, right?
There's no gun in this scene.
It's like we didn't give him a gun.
Give him a gun.
He just brought it.
He bent over. There's something on his ankle.
It's like he's pulling something out of his ass.
And coke drops from underneath his underwear.
Well, I mean,
sorry about that.
Well, I mean, that would ensure that he has to shoot everyone now. But yeah, we're on this train, and the Brit thugs that we hired to retrieve the stuff, they're there, and Imhotep has his mask on.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, though, Anuk-Sunamun is like saying like, "Oh, I'll handle this business situation," because the British guys, they're like making demands.
Yeah.
To the biggest, baddest people in this movie. They did. They're going to be dead very shortly here. But in the meantime, we go into like the caboose of of the train, and Imhotep has like a little shrine set up.
Yeah.
And he's wearing his mask again that he wore whenever he was in public, when he was in mummy form in the first movie. And they push the kid into the room with him to like just have a little chat.
Yeah.
Because the thing that's going on now is that the kid has this bracelet that is directing him where to go. So we're tracing a path to the Oasis of Amsher.
Yes.
And the point is he needs to visit all these landmarks in sequence, and then the bracelet will give him new instructions.
Yeah.
However, his plan is like, oh, if I lead them on a wild goose chase, you know, they'll never find it, and the Scorpion King will be a non-issue.
Yeah.
But this is where we get introduced to this ticking clock element, where Imhotep tells him, like, did you know that, like, in 7 days, if you don't find the Oasis,
you're dead.
Yeah, the bracelet kills you.
Yeah.
So now the kid is forced to, like, actually tell them.
Yeah,
to cooperate. Which is, you know, clever stuff from a writing standpoint.
Yeah.
I really loved Imhotep's speaking voice in English. They do some modulation.
I do not think so. No.
Yeah, and we get the trailer shot, like probably the most iconic trailer shot.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of the one where he picks him up, but that's later. Sorry.
I think they sped that up in the trailer too.
They probably did.
It looks kind of funky, but the trailer shot that I remember most is, "My dad is going to kick your ass."
Yeah.
And then Imhotep, with his mask off, says, "I do not think so."
I do not think so.
It's good shit.
They have their exchange, and Noxuna brings the three idiots.
Yeah, this was a weird fucking edit, because this sequence happens in the same location.
Yeah.
Without a transition. Like, he says the trailer line, the kid teleports out of the room, and then the Brits show up.
I love this. This is a fun sequence, too, because this is another video game moment where the dude's like, "Oh, man, this place is cursed." And he's like, He's like, "Oh, this is cursed. This is cursed." Like, shut up. Like, we got a situation here. We're locked in this room. And they have that chest that they stole in there. I don't know how they got it in there so quick, because she brings them to the... it doesn't make sense.
Whatever.
But they're just kind of standing around, like, this place is creepy. And then Imhotep just appears out of, like, the ceiling. Just
it's straight the fuck out of House of the Dead.
It feels very much like a video game.
Like, he's just like, whoop!
And British Tom Sizemore, his scream, like, it's so funny. And they just start shooting like that's gonna do something.
Really bad CGI when they're shooting Imhotep, because he's going...
Yeah.
He's supposed to be, like, laughing as they're shooting him, but it looks like... he's having he's feeling himself a little too much.
Yeah.
He's just like, got his head...
He's doing the Bernie, basically, the Bernie dance.
Like, no joke, he's just doing the wiggle.
But yeah, so he, for some reason, disappears. And the lady opens up the door. She opens up the little hole. She's like, "He wants you to open the chest." She gets the lowest hanging fruit, the tall idiot. She's like, "Open up the chest." So he opens it. And they're like, "Fuck, dude, what did you do that for?" And he just kind of disappears. And I like this. This is kind of cool.
On the ceiling.
Yeah. He's like, "Where'd he go?" And he's like up above the tall guy. And the tall guy keeps moving around, and Imhotep is just on the ceiling.
Locked eyes with him.
It's kind of creepy.
As a kid, yeah.
It worked. And then he walks down the wall right in front of him. And then we didn't see it in the first one, which was fine. I like the use of shadows in that first movie. But he basically sucks his skin off, and we actually see it.
Yeah.
I remember thinking it was kind of cool at the time. I'm sure we're rewatching now. I'm like, it doesn't really hold up that well. But we do get one of my favorite things is where Imhotep is half, like he's getting some of the skin on him. And my favorite shot from that first one was when he kills the Egyptologist and he turns around. He's like in that crowd of people. And he has like the Arnold Vosloo face, but he also has like patches missing from his face. And we get the same thing here. And I like that.
I do too, in concept, not in execution. Because the big mistake they make here is what you said. I know what you're talking about exactly from the first Mummy movie we talked about before. And I do like it too. Only difference is that was shot at distance.
Yeah.
This is the camera's rammed up his nose.
Yeah.
And that's not... In 2001, that's not how you should be using computer animation.
We have Silence of the Lambs, like close-up shot where the head is the whole frame.
No, and he's got the Harvey Dent Two-Face eyeball on half of his face, and the other side is mostly Arnold Vosloo, but it's all CGI. Like, there's no makeup effect. It's entirely a CGI figure, and in 2001, we're not doing that. In fact, I think in the film history books, what was it? A series of unfortunate events. Was it the Lemony Snicket movie?
Yeah, I haven't seen the Jim Carrey. I haven't seen it.
I think that movie holds the distinction of being like the first photorealistic close-up of a human face that's entirely CGI.
I don't know. I think it's very possible.
It's a child in the movie or something. That there's like a shot that's just like rammed right up into the kid's face, and it's entirely fake.
I was a little lit up when I saw Rogue One in the theater. I didn't realize Grand Moff Tarkin was a fucking...
Well, that's your problem.
I didn't realize it. I watched it the second time. I'm like, I didn't realize it was Grand Moff Tarkin when I was watching it.
I was like, that's Peter Cushing. He did.
I must have used the restroom when he was on screen at one point, and I just didn't piece it together. I wasn't paying attention.
That performance still bothers me.
I can see that.
It's not a bad performance. It's just I know what you're trying to do, and the person who's doing his speaking voice, that's the biggest problem, if you ask me, is that, from a visual standpoint, it's pretty good. Like, I can't knock it for the effort that they put forth. Like, it's a solid fucking effort, but the speaking voice and the delivery, That guy's not Peter Cushing. Peter Cushing had a very specific speech pattern.
Lord Vader, release. Yeah, it's very, very specific. It's like me trying to do Werner Herzog. Like, you can't.
I like how your Werner Herzog is just like
German.
It's just generalized, just German, but it's like no. Werner Herzog is a very specific accent.
And they didn't need to do Grand Moff Tarkin. Ben Mendelsohn could have carried the villain. He could have carried that.
I know what they were trying to do with him, where he's like a middle management position in the Empire, and it's supposed to emphasize the character relationship, where it's like he isn't the big looming threat, but for Jyn Orso, the lady, he's the big bad. Yeah. But in the eyes of the actual grand scheme of things, he's nothing. He's a janitor.
Yeah.
So I get what they're trying to do, but I still have a lot of misgivings with that movie. I feel like on paper it should be like my favorite Star Wars thing ever.
Mm-hmm. It's outside of the original trilogy.
Yeah, it just isn't, though. And it's unfortunate, because I like that director. I want to see what he has to offer, because that Godzilla movie is pretty fucking good. And that Monsters movie, his first movie, is pretty fucking good, considering it was like shot on a handy cam and edited on a laptop.
I stand by Rogue One.
Okay.
So yeah, we get to
meet Izzy.
We get to meet Izzy. Magic Carpet Airways. Izzy has a dirigible, but first we meet Izzy and he sees. This is probably one of the funnier. There's consistent comedy through this whole sequence here. Like, he meets him and he's like, Izzy! And he just starts freaking out. Like,
I think he shuts the door on him.
Yeah. And I think he ends up shooting the lock open. And then I like Izzy's little pad here. It's like he's just got a dude passed out on a table. He's just going around gathering, drawing, like nervously doing stuff.
It's like a wall, but there's no office.
Yeah.
It's just an open area.
It's an open area. Yeah.
It's like a tent with a wall in front of it.
He's just going around. Yeah, he's like, we need to hire you for the dirigible, and we can see that they have a past. Like, they've known each other for a very long time. I like where he tells Jonathan to get the bags. He's like, "Oh, my hands are full." And he takes the scepter from him, basically, and that ends up being the payment. Izzy just really gets his eye on the scepter. He's like, "I want that."
Oh, it's gold.
It's gold. It's a big piece of gold.
It's a big piece of gold. And what's funny here is that Izzy is vehemently against the idea of helping O'Connell, because every time he hooks up with him,
it's shot.
I get shot. Shot in the arse. And so that's his major grievance with O'Connell. Also needs to be said, O'Connell thinks he has a plane.
Yeah.
He does not.
He's like, what happened to Izzy's wearing an eye patch. He's like, what happened to the eye? He's like, oh, nothing. I just thought maybe look more dashing. He just grabs it and rips it off.
Yeah, they have a fun relationship. And I like that when he introduces him to the dirigible, Izzy's really excited. He's like, it's so much better than the plane. And O'Connell's like, you know what? You're right, Izzy. And he's like, what? And he's like, you're going to get shot.
And he pulls out his gun quick. Like, he's about to get shot.
That's a good line. That's a good moment.
Ardeth Bay is not really thrilled about being on another motor. They've been putting him through all kinds of modes of transportation. He's been on a plane, he's been on a bus, he's been in cars. Now he's going to be on a fucking dirigible. He's like, why can't you people keep your feet on the ground? And,
it's a good line. It's a very good line.
Yeah. We're getting into where this is where the movie kind of slows down, because now we're getting into the chase. And we can probably gloss over quite a bit of this.
Yeah. There's absolutely no action in this except for flashbacks.
Yeah, we get some flashbacks. So we should probably... I'll just kind of give this a rundown here. So the little shit's going with the mummy, and they're taking a train across Egypt, basically. I was going to mention the one scene where he's like, I
have to use the bathroom.
I have to use the bathroom. So he has this, like, with Lochna. Lochna hates this kid, and the kid knows it, so he's really just pushing his buttons, just really trying to piss him off. Are we there yet? Yeah.
And does the Bart Simpson routine?
Yeah, he's a real Bart Simpson. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I like.
No, like Bart Simpson and Lisa.
He's like,
did the Are We There Yet?
Yeah. I'm saying, like, he's annoying like Bart Simpson, but he's smart like Lisa. So it's literally the worst.
He's Kevin McAllister, just British.
Just annoying. So yeah, he goes to use the bathroom. And this is fucking disgusting.
There's shit on the walls.
Literally.
There's shit on the ceiling.
This isn't just...
There's shit everywhere.
This is like... People have been using their hands to wipe their ass and wiping it on... We didn't need it in this. We did not need it. But yeah, He ends up using the toilet to escape. He's like, "Oh, you can just get like right out of here," and he gets off the train and not die somehow.
Yeah, we get a goofy moment here where we need this kid alive, by the way.
Yeah, very much.
And as soon as they see him getting off the train, because he pulls like the emergency, like the e-brake from the bathroom.
Yeah. I don't think trains had those back then. I'm gonna say they did.
I don't know. I seriously doubt it, especially in the fucking toilet. Because really, how would you know you need to pull the brake from the toilet?
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't be aware of what's going on outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kid runs off, and they are very conveniently at Karnak, so they were going to stop anyway. Like, seriously, we're where we wanted to go. Thanks for pulling the brake, kid.
Yeah.
He runs into the city, and then some dudes that are posted up on top of the train start shooting at him.
Yeah.
It's like, we need him alive! What the fuck are you doing? So, like, Imhotep just, like, rolls his eyes, and he uses his telekinetic powers to just, like, smash them into each other.
It takes way longer than need. Like, these guys are trying to mow this kid down with guns.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not fucking around, and it takes him a minute. He's just like, what's happening? Oh. These guys. It would have been way quicker. Like, he should have taken care of it much quicker. But yeah, they get here, and we start to get, Evie starts having her flashbacks up in the dirigible.
Yeah. Basically, we get the trailer shot of Imhotep picking up the child with his telekinetic powers.
I like his...
It's very good.
It's very good.
Good Vosloo.
Good Vosloo.
But yeah, we get a flashback here with... this is another trailer shot, actually.
Yeah, the fight.
It's a lady fight.
Yeah.
We're back in ancient Egypt.
Did you see the booties on these two stunt ladies fighting? Like...
There's a whole lot of booty in this.
There's some wiggling going on.
There's a lot of booty in this scene.
Yeah.
And when Rachel Weisz has got her spear/axe thing.
The flip that she does off the wall.
Yeah, the kick flip off the wall is pretty bitchin'. Basically we're in ancient times, and the pharaoh is watching his daughter Nefertiti, who is Rachel Weisz.
Yes.
So this is her in her past life apparently, and Anck-su-namun, who is his wife, I think.
Yeah, it's his wife, his young
So
wife.
it's his wife and his daughter going at it.
Yeah, they're the same age.
And
so
he's jerking it the whole time.
From what I understand of dads who have a daughter that also has a wife the same age as their daughter, I think the daughter and the wife never get along, from what I understand from movie
It's
tropes.
science.
Yeah, they do not get along.
It's science. But yeah, they're having a fight, and they start out like using Egyptian size, basically. Mm-hmm. So Raphael from Ninja Turtles.
I love the way this is shot too, because this is like, we're not in like a courtyard or anything. We're in a room, and it's literally like if they were taking a photo, like a Royals photo. It's just like everybody's. Yeah, they get some of the things like that.
But yeah,
the poses.
The back of the room, though, everybody's lined up shoulder to shoulder.
There's literally like someone's got a hand on somebody's shoulder watching it, and I like Imhotep's just like.
So there's no layers to the audience.
No.
It's just like one long.
It's like a choir stand.
Yeah,
people are just in on levels basically.
Yeah, they have bleachers. They have Egyptian bleachers.
And nobody's reacting to the fighting. Everybody's just standing there.
So it's a very Japanese audience. Yeah. It's like nothing's happening. We're not gonna react.
Don't react. So they're kind of going at it, whatever it is. And do we get the? This is where she sees how the pharaoh dies too.
Yeah, so the fight scene plays out. Cannot emphasize enough. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon came out in the year 2000. There's an iconic sequence in that movie where it's Zhang Ziyi and Michelle Yeoh go at it with different types of weapons. Mm-hmm. It's a protracted martial arts sequence. Pretty sure they had that in mind when they were putting the scene together. Mm-hmm. Basically, the result of the fight is Anck-su-namun wins. And by the way, they do a thing where the first stanza in the fight is them wearing masks.
So you don't know who it is, yeah.
Then they lift the masks up and we see, oh, that's Rachel Weisz. And also that gives us an excuse to force the ladies to do their own stunt work. Yeah. Which, again, was kind of a thing at the time. That's what you do. And
they do a great job.
This is still a thing. In fact, even more so. You want to know the easiest way to promote your action movie?
Do the behind the scenes of the action hero, training.
Do the gym montage of showing how said actor got in shape for the role, and then do the behind the scenes of showing them do the action scenes themselves.
Dude, dad bod Henry Cavill is disgusting.
I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh, him getting into shape. He's gross looking when he's like getting into shape, because he's just not. He just does not have that Superman look in the off season, man. They had him doing his like workout and stuff, and he's wearing his gym shorts and his. Oh, dude, I need to see the after, please.
I haven't seen Henry Cavill out of shape.
Fallout is on Prime right now, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I have my 4K. I don't need Prime. I'm going to rewatch that bathroom scene.
Exactly.
But yeah, both ladies acquit themselves quite well. Anck-su-namun wins the fight, and this results in, what is it? Nefertiti has to like guard the Book of the Dead or something.
Yeah, something like
and
that.
And Anck-su-namun gets to... Basically, they're competing over the right to defend something.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow. So you mean I risked my life to have the right to guard something? Cool.
It was probably honor or something.
And there's a cool moment here where we see Rachel Weisz catches Anck-su-namun making eyes at Imhotep.
I like this editing here because they kind of slow it down and speed it up. It's kind of cool.
Well, yeah, it's a good way to visually communicate feelings without words. And then we Back to the Future 2 this shit.
Yeah, we Rachel Weisz has got her hair combed. She's just kind of chilling out on her balcony, and she watches the opening scene of the first movie. We see Anck-su-namun and Imhotep making out, and then we get like the behind shot, which is cool. We get the behind shot. We see them, kill the pharaoh, and she's like yelling at the Magi to come up there, and she sees him die, and she runs, like she's running towards the balcony, but she's on the dirigible. We come back to real time, and she's about to jump off this thing, and Brendan Fraser's like, God damn it.
Can you go like 5 minutes without launching yourself off something?
Jesus. He ends up catching her, and she kind of explains, oh, this is great. I forgot about this. Before we go through this whole thing, Brendan Fraser's talking about Ardeth Bay is giving us some exposition. He's like, listen, you're a magi. It's your destiny and shit like that. And so Brendan Fraser's like, so my wife is a reincarnated princess, and I'm a warrior for God. So the movie's kind of self-aware with him. He's like, yeah, this is pretty stupid.
I wrote that here in my notes because I noticed that too, and I said, oh wow, they do the Marvel thing where they make light of the ridiculousness of the situation. And the reason I call that the Marvel thing is it's a thing that I've noticed in almost every Disney product for the past 10 years, that it's a way of winking at the audience.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we know this is dumb. You know this is dumb. Isn't this fun?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of it comes from like improvised performances too, where it's just like, you're doing a scene where Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother, is standing in for a sentient speaking raccoon. Mm-hmm. You're going to have takes where the actors are going to see the elements around them and understand this is really stupid. It's like, and they're going to verbalize it at some point. So you may as well just put that energy into the film.
Yeah, so they... Rachel Weisz comes back too. She's telling him like, yeah, so I'm like a princess and shit. She's like, no, it's all real, Rich. It's all real. Like,
it sounds like his wife wants to like get involved in a supplement pyramid scheme.
Yeah, exactly,
like,
exactly.
You don't understand. I want to start a business.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, I'm gonna go back to school to be a nutritionist. I can totally. I'm gonna get a job doing that. And he's just like,
you don't understand, and Nutritonics is going to work. Like it's such a legit business.
So
I know so many people.
we let's see. Heroes arrive. So yeah, so the O'Connells are kind of like one step behind Imhotep and his crew, and they're trying to figure out where they're going to go next, and they don't really know. Little Freddy or Alex.
May as well be Freddy. It's a very punchable name.
Yeah. So he ends up coming up with a system to let them know where he's going. He makes little sandcastles of the next spot, and it's
clever.
It's clever. This kid is amazing at sandcastles.
To their credit, and it's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
These sandcastles are amazingly intricate.
Yeah.
Complete bullshit.
Yeah.
But to their credit, his first scene in the movie, or like his second scene in the movie, is his dad saying, "Go build a better mousetrap or something."
Yeah.
And then we literally see him do that. So like we can tell
he's crafty.
He's crafty.
Yeah.
So that is established in the writing and the presentation of the film. Although some of these sandcastles are, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. So they're on the trail. We just keep getting shots. Like I think you have in your notes. Like we keep going to the various exotic locales. Going.
Come to Egypt.
Yes.
It's spectacular.
Just keep going to these places, and finally, like Loch Ness, like they're piecing it together. Like, or he sees the kid making another sandcastle. He's also losing more and more clothes. That's how he indicates where the sandcastles are. And he's like, they have him on like a camel reading a book, and he's just like in his skivvies and like a t-shirt. But Loch Ness notices the bird, Ardeth Bay's bird.
Yeah.
He doesn't shoot it yet, but he's about to.
Yeah.
But they end up, Loch Ness ends up like, fucking little shit, like you're the reason why they keep following. And I do like this. I like this sequence here where we get the face this time.
You like this sequence?
I'm sure you noticed it, but they have Imhotep in the river, and it's like up to his waist, up to his stomach, and he's just like,
he's pissing in the pool, by the way. Like he's like, don't come out here, don't come out here.
But
give me a minute.
This is where he gets the water up, and he's basically gonna put the dirigible in his mouth and knock them down. But we go through this whole sequence. The dirigible goes down, but he goes in while it's waist deep, and then he comes out, and it's just up to his feet. I just like that editing where he just basically took all the water out of there.
Yeah, see, that's cute. I like Arnold Vosloo.
Yeah,
like I like his scenes, but it's when he's doing his mummy magic that I kind of get disengaged. And I think of this this wave sequence as like maybe one of the most useless effects / action beats in the whole movie.
It worked in the first one. It was a callback that they didn't need to do in this one.
Yeah, basically it's a redo of the
sand.
Yeah, the sandstorm.
Yeah,
when it has his face in it, and every time we cut back to Arnold Vosloo doing mouth acting,
yeah,
I'm like, yay! Like I squee, but then we see the really, really, really janky CGI. Yeah. I've said it before on the show. Water and gold for CGI animators, especially at this point in time. Like not so much nowadays. Like we have all sorts of particle effects and shit that can take care of this stuff, like take care of the physics especially. But like back in the day, water, fuck. Like you're that's a tall order.
I remember the end of X-Men 3. The water that they did in that movie. I don't know if you remember the ending fight
at Alcatraz.
Yeah, there was some the water coming up. I think there was some phoenixing going on that looked kind of cool.
She had a lot of shit going on. I don't remember a water effect. I mostly just remember people disappearing into dust. I would like to see if there's like a director's cut of that movie, like a Brett Ratner director's cut, because I've heard there's a lot of cutting room floor stuff, like a lot of just straight up deleted scenes.
I've heard the same thing, but
that make the movie like a skosh better.
I've heard that there are editing floor scenes that were going to make it so much worse as well.
Oh, yeah, I was not aware of that. But yeah, the long story short, Imhotep throws a big wall of water at our heroes in the dirigible. They're in a canyon, and they have like the Nile River underneath them, and they basically escape, although the dirigible crashes.
Yeah.
And, but it doesn't matter anyway, because we have arrived at the oasis of Share.
Yes,
so we got to where we were going anyway, and everybody's fine.
we crash into the third act here, and,
literally.
Yeah, we get to the oasis. Now they're really set on getting their kid, because now it's like crunch time. Like she knows the deal too, that if he doesn't get the bracelet off, he's gonna die, or at least Ardeth Bay knows that. He's like, yeah, we have to get the bracelet off of him. Oh no, does he know that? No, he doesn't know.
I think he knows, but he doesn't say anything.
So yeah, we get into the oasis in the evening, and we're just kind of walking through the jungle here, and
everything in this scene reminded me of The Lost World, 1997. You know,
not too far away.
If you're gonna borrow from movies, you may as well borrow from fucking Spielberg. Like that's a good way to go. But yeah, we see here like all the bad guys, just like in The Lost World, grossly outnumber our heroes.
Yeah.
Like they have a small army of cultists, and they're marching through the jungle, and we note that there are like corpses of like Napoleonic French people and like Roman legionnaires and stuff. So like there's a lot of folks who've tried and failed to do what they're doing right now. And meanwhile, though, our heroes run into the jungle, and they're setting up like an ambush. So the idea here is that Jonathan and Evie will be posted up like on high at an elevated point with rifles, and they'll be shooting into the crowd, while Ardeth Bay and Rick will be on the ground level trying to save the kid. And this is where we get that aforementioned cute moment where Rick is like trying to I don't know, push past the fear that he's feeling. Like, so wife, you remember how to shoot, right? And she's like, yes, husband.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, husband, I'm fine. And he's like, oh, well, you know, gender roles are very, very clearly defined in the 30s.
Yeah.
It's like, did you bring a sandwich, woman?
Yeah, seriously.
He's like, you didn't? You did not?
Do you want time to serve drinks while we talk about our plan here?
Yeah. But in the meantime, though, all the bad guys are trudging through the jungle, and we get some monster vision shots. Stuff that, if you've seen Deep Rising, you're familiar with the fact that Stephen Sommers knows how to shoot monsters and stuff. And The Mummy, of course. And then we get another kind of worthless trailer shot where Mr. Hafez looks directly into the camera and says, something is coming. And then nothing comes for several minutes. Yeah. It's completely worthless.
Yeah, so we get they have the ambush. We've got. So they haven't started shooting yet, I don't think, before the pygmies come in. So the pygmies are introduced.
The pygmies. Ugh. The pygmies. Maybe the strangest and most worthless part of the movie. Yeah. Like, it's just, this scene didn't really need them. I remember even as a kid kind of rolling my eyes at this. So the pygmy mummies are basically these little gremlin-sized guys who behave very much like gremlins, by the way. And basically they overrun all the bad guys.
Yeah.
And we're in the long grass. Yeah. Don't go into the long grass.
Don't go into the long grass.
And man, the bad guys just get trashed here. Like, the pygmies wreck their shit.
Yeah. With
little knives and spears and blowguns.
Yeah, we get the... So while this is happening, Imhotep tells Lochna, or they say, go retrieve the bracelet. Like, you get to finally kill the kid. We end up having our showdown again of Lochna and Ardeth Bay. Evie is still up there, like, shooting up at the top. Jonathan somehow finds his way down into the.
I don't remember how. He just does.
He just kind of does.
That's not your role. That's not your role, Jonathan. Know your role.
No, you are a shooter up there.
Yeah.
He ends up with the guy, the sidekick guy. They're running away from the pygmy things, and he goes into this circle of stones. I love that. He's like, no, you see these ancient stones? They'll never pass it. He's like, are you sure? And this guy gets dispatched.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty funny, because I like the timing here, because, like, the two of them just kind of, like, they're like, okay, we're safety in numbers here. Yeah. But then one of the pygmies just hops over the stones and jams a fucking spear through this guy's torso.
Heart. It's in his fucking heart.
But he gives Jonathan a look like, what?
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like, yeah, and he just gives him a sorry and he runs off. It's very cute. I liked it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the pygmies are wrecking shit. Ardeth Bay and Lochna have their rematch. By the way, Kyle, have you ever heard of the Diablo series of computer games?
Yeah.
It's made by Blizzard. It has a really devoted fan base. It's basically like a loot-based dungeon crawler. So you go down into the depths of hell, you kill a bunch of shit. Every time you kill something, it drops something to collect. So you collect shit and you kill shit.
Gotcha.
And it's usually medieval themed. It's very dark fantasy.
All right.
The second game, Diablo 2, came out in, I think, like 98. And the sequence of events go from, like, medieval Europe, London, to the deserts of Egypt, to the jungle, to hell. So it just the sequence of events closely mirrors that of this movie. Yeah. Like, this changes of venue.
Okay.
And not only that, the jungle sequence of Diablo 2 features pygmies who have basically the same like vocalizations. Frank Welker type shit. But yeah, the pygmies get lots of, like, weird gremlin-esque moments here where, like, really cruel sequence where there's some guys in a pool of quicksand and one of them's, like,
jumping on his head,
tamping down their heads. I was like, oh my god, that's horrible.
Yeah.
I did like that they respect the pimpness that is Imhotep.
He's like, fuck off, dude.
Yeah, he just shoots him a look and they just kind of, like, cower and, like, slink back into the woods. He's like, fuck you.
he's full Imhotep now, so he's where he was at the end of the first movie. Like, he's all air generated, he's got his powers, so yeah, they have to respect him. He's headed towards the pyramid. Oh yeah, they're going towards a giant golden pyramid
in the center of the oasis.
The center of the oasis, that's where they're heading. And Brendan Fraser like picks up the kid, and she's like, "Dad, you don't understand. I gotta get the bracelet to the pyramid, or I'm gonna die." And he's like, "My God."
Yeah, that's where Rachel Weisz gets her trailer shot, where the camera zooms in and she says,
"Oh my God!"
But her delivery is so flat that's like, that's not what Evie would do.
Also, she's looking like right in the camera when she's doing
it. I mean, when you think of the character of Evie, you think of her being like goofy and bumbly and stuff. Not. Oh my God.
She's like a millimeter. Her eyes are a millimeter away from breaking the fourth wall. Like she's almost saying it directly.
Very nearly a hot tub time machine. Needs to be said, Ardith Bay does kill Lochnaw. Mm-hmm. It's very unfortunate.
Yeah,
I liked both of them.
Yeah,
it would be nice if they both made it to the end credits. Sadly, no.
Nope.
It's just a sword fight in the middle of mass hysteria, which is a clever concept, but I think it distracts from the fight itself. It's just too much noise.
Too much stuff going on.
Yeah, so it kind of takes away from the impact. Point is, one of the cooler characters in the movie is now dead, and we still have some movie left.
Yeah.
We run to the pyramid. The kid does the fucking kid thing where he's like, "Dad, I'm tired," and he has to carry him there, and they literally outrun the sun.
Yeah, they outrun they outrun the speed of light.
They literally outrun the sunrise and get to the pyramid in time to save the kid. I couldn't help but note that this was like the height of like color grading technology, digital color grading technology.
Yeah.
Without which we couldn't have movies like The Matrix, where everything has like a green tinge. Otherwise, you'd have to like build the set and light everything green. Now you can fix it in post. So now we can have people literally outrun the sun. The bracelet's off. He tosses it aside. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, we need that.
It's made of gold anyway. Like, it's worth something. Come on now. And then we get the emotional beat of the movie.
Oh, you mean where Mrs. You have it down, Mrs. Hotep?
Yes, Mrs. Hotep
places a knife on the waist of Rachel Weisz, because this is like, you couldn't get a fake knife to do. It's literally on the side. You can see it. It's really bad.
It's like right behind her.
It's literally on her waist. So here, I'm just gonna set this right here.
Yeah.
Evie gets stabbed, and I guess this is kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark. We like
Sean Connery.
Yeah, Sean Connery.
Last Crusade.
Last Crusade. There we go. Now we've got, as if there wasn't already character motivation, now we've got a pissed off Brendan Fraser.
Yeah. I did like his stay here.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's a very dadly moment.
Yeah.
Where he just like gets up from the corpse of his wife. Yeah. And he like pimp walks away.
He gets his big dick walk going.
Yeah.
And there's that.
His hips are spread wide.
All right. Big time third act.
Oh yeah. There's fuck all going on here, man. So the editing makes this kind of tricky to talk about because everything's happening at once. Yep. So we are This is that cradle to the grave shit where we are constantly cutting away from this to this to this to this to this. And
all right, let's set it out here. So we have Alex and Jonathan. Mm-hmm. They are trying to bring back. There's a way to bring back Rachel Weisz.
We have the Book of the Dead.
So we're working on that. Mr. Hafez is kind of piddling around.
He retrieved the bracelet.
Yeah.
So he's using it to activate the pyramid, which controls the army of Anubis that the Scorpion King will be taking control of. So basically he activates the army.
Noxuna Moon is kind of standing guard while Emotep, actually, he passed through this barrier, and we get another video game thing, and he gets his powers taken away from him. Not completely. He's like Magneto at the end of X-Men 3, where he can still kind of move stuff, but he can't really do anything.
Yeah.
So she's like, you have to stay back here. I have to go face him alone. So she's just kind of standing guard, watch. Like, she's literally, like, posted up.
Well, she mostly ends up dealing with Jonathan.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, they end up just, she ends up dealing with
She gets bored. She's like, her boyfriend's like, I don't know. She gets bored of hanging out with her boyfriend. Like, he's playing too many video games, and she's like, I'm going to go over here.
Yeah, she's just kind of looking at that. And then Brendan Fraser is making his way to fight Emotep.
Yeah.
And I like the lighting shots here while we have... Emotep is in his undies, basically, and he's just banging on a gong.
Yeah, it's very... I mean, we cast a professional wrestler in this movie. We may as well have some stuff that's reminiscent of professional wrestling. And a man in a loincloth banging a gong before a big fight. Yeah, that's like a Triple H entrance.
We forgot to mention that this whole time, Ardeth Bey has been keeping correspondence with the Magi.
Yes.
So the Magi have actually dispatched an enormous army, and they are basically waiting to see if the army of Anubis is going to come back. Spoiler alert, they do.
Yeah. I actually kind of like this in movies sometimes when you have like a threat that's teased where it's like we absolutely can't let this happen, and then they actually have it happen.
Yeah.
It happens all the time, but like it's one of those things. It's like you, as a writer, you can either have it happen or you can have it be prevented from happening.
Yeah.
And in this one, they do a pretty good job of teasing stuff that's going to happen and then let it happen. Like the army, for instance.
Yeah.
Like we saw what they can do in the beginning of the movie. It's like now we really get to see what they can do, although they're mostly ineffectual.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks. But just the fact that they do show up is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because they could have easily had it just be a thing where The Rock shows up, we fight him, and then the army never even appears.
Okay, so this is the best part of the movie.
The best part of the movie.
Really, like, as far as the editing goes, like, keeping, like, it's action-packed this last, I'd say 10 minutes. I think it's like 10 minutes of just straight action where it's just back to back to back. So, Brendan Fraser and Imhotep, we hear, like, a roar, and they just kind of look at each other, and they just start going at it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The arena that this takes place in is lovingly detailed.
It looks expensive.
Yeah. It looks real expensive.
It is a set.
It is a fucking set. There are flame jets just like everywhere. By the way Sean Connery gains entrance to the Rock, directly preceding the "Welcome to the Rock" moment, that fire tunnel.
Yeah.
Like they have that here in the pyramid.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's flame jets everywhere. There's torches. There's all sorts of medieval Egyptian weaponry just everywhere. There's hieroglyphics on the walls. There's fucking stalactites on the ceiling. Yeah. Oh yeah, and a portal to hell.
And a portal. That's what happens. He jumps across the portal to hell, and that's when the Scorpion King kind of comes to.
Yeah, there's a portal to hell in the middle of the room.
So Jonathan and Alex are doing what Jonathan was doing at the end of the first movie. He's like, hey, we need to get the key so we can open up the book so we can read from the book. So Jonathan has to go pick a fight. He calls her Winch, by the way. He goes to pick a fight with Anoxuna Moon.
Yeah.
And, I mean, she's like a war, like she knows how to do combat shit like that.
She's doing like cat martial arts. She's doing she's doing like Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat 3 shit.
I like this fight because it's funny. Jonathan's just kind of getting popped in the face, and like you could tell that he doesn't know how to fight. It's hurting him enough. He's just like it's agitating, but it's not knocking him down. And they're just kind of going back and forth. Alex is reading from the book, and he's like, it's a bird, a stork.
Yeah.
He's got his mom right there. They end up bringing her back.
Yeah. They repeat the beat from the first film.
Yeah.
Where she's reading from the book.
Yeah.
Now her spawn is reading from the book, and
Correct.
He has her like elbow wiggle gesture when she can't quite sound something out. And then Jonathan remembers what was remembered at the end of the first film, the Amenaphus.
We forgot to mention Mr. Hafez.
Yeah, his hand.
He takes the bracelet because Rick passes him. He just sees.
I love Brendan Fraser's expression when no, it's not that. It's just like he gives just like a
kind of like you get yours kind of deal. Mr. Hafez gets his hand sucked off, and he's holding this prosthetic, like this fake bony gooey hand.
Yeah, it looks like a skeleton hand that got sneezed on by a big monster or something.
So he unleashes the army of Anubis. Their interest is kind of cool.
I really like the shadow. So this basically he sticks his hand in something that you absolutely should not stick your hand in.
Nope.
It's a giant golden scorpion statue with a hole in the middle.
Yeah.
No, you don't put your hand in that. And then when he trips something in it, like a giant scorpion shadow shoots out from the pyramid through the oasis and out into the sand dunes. And then we get this really long shot of the camera panning across the dunes, and there's like millions of little scorpions that are comprising the shadow itself. Mm-hmm. So on the fringe, like on the edge of this shadow, you can see like little scorpion pincers and stuff. And then the shadow just stops and retracts, but all the sand that the shadow touched remains black.
Yeah.
And then like the warriors like rise up from the sand, and they just start out as like amorphous blobs of sand, and then they slowly take shape, and then they turn into the dog soldiers from the Dog soldiers.
Yeah, dog soldiers. Literally dog soldiers.
Yeah, the beginning of the film. And there are a shit ton of them. Also, there's a shit ton of Magi, though. And as we said, Magi handle themselves quite well. Yeah. They acquit themselves quite well. Yeah. The only way to kill an Anubis warrior is apparently to decapitate them.
Decapitate them, yeah.
And yeah, they do really well. We get another trailer shot where an Anubis warrior throws an axe towards the camera. I remember that distinctly being in the trailer.
Yeah, Evie comes in and saves Jonathan from being stabbed.
Yeah, she steals the moment that I maybe I stole it from this. My revised ending for The Dark Knight Rises that I insist would have been better. Basically, my ending for The Dark Knight Rises would be the big police riot fight happens at the end of the movie. Except for Batman he appears like in the head of the line. But it's like not Batman, it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt dressed as Batman. And everybody's like, oh, it's Batman. So he like rallies the troops and stuff. And then Bane finds him in the crowd and he's like, you're not Batman.
You're not Batman.
And then he beats the shit out of Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who's dressed as Batman.
That would be pretty good.
And he's like got him on the ground, he's about to smash his face, and he's like, you're just a pretender. And then like a hand comes in from out of frame, and it's Bruce fucking Wayne. He's
that
like,
would be kind of cool.
But I am. So that's how she saves Jonathan. It's like Anuk Cinnamoone's about to kill him, and then a hand comes in from out of frame, and Mom's alive again.
She has the worst fucking stare down I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I mean, Rachel Weisz is just so sweet.
She's she's not sweet in The Favorite.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
She's an actress, but at this stage in her
Acting!
career... Acting!
Yeah, so we get back to the Emotep and O'Connell fight. And I think we bring in the Scorpion Rock.
Scorponok?
Scorponok, yeah.
Yeah, enter the Scorpion King. And this is some of the most infamous CGI of its day. Mm-hmm. So I'm a lifelong wrestling fan. The Rock was actually instrumental in that in a lot of ways. So he was actually a big selling point for me to want to go see this movie as a kid. He's in the first couple of minutes of this movie and nothing else. Because instead of him, the Scorpion King, we get a fully CGI monster that is the top half of The Rock, done entirely in CGI, bad CGI, and then the bottom half is a scorpion body, and his arms are pincers.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
But yeah, he does not look great by any standard. No. And yeah, some of the shots in his entrance in particular are just, I mean, it's all one shot, but oof, it's overly ambitious does not begin to describe it. He just looks phony. He doesn't look like he's really there. And I think the most upsetting part of it for me was that they gave him like the most generic monster voice imaginable. It's just like really obviously modulated, just kind of. He just sounds like not even like a Doom quality monster voice. He just sounds really generic. And he. When he's laughing, like, why is he laughing? Yeah, like, why is he laughing while he's fighting people? It's just like, come on, man. He's just deeply disappointing. But I like the opening moment in the fight where he, like, charges out the gate after his grand entrance, and he makes a beeline towards Imhotep, who, like, crouches down on his knees and puts his hands up and says, like, I'm your servant, I'm your servant, I'm your servant. Yeah. He's like, oh, I'm just here to do whatever it is you need me to do. That motherfucker's here to kill you. Yeah. So he's very tricky. He's the heel.
So basically, Imhotep's trying to do something. I'm not sure what he's trying to accomplish, but Brendan Fraser's just running around a room trying to...
I think he's just buying time, to be honest.
Too much. What's his face? The Mr. Hafez kind of makes his way in there. Scorpion King gets a hold of him. He's like, help me!
Help me! Save Milestone! Save me!
He's like, why?
Yeah.
And Scorpion King, just out of frustration, is like, oh, just rips him into like 8 pieces.
Yeah, I had a thought about this when I was watching it last night, where like the way he gets got, Mr. Hafez, he gets grabbed in front of the camera, and then the Scorpion King runs off with him and runs like into the middle of the room and up onto the ceiling. Yeah. And then, turns him into
a million pieces.
Yeah, he rips him into many pieces. I think the reason the choreography there is just really weird.
Yeah. Like he's just still like running around like...
Yeah, it's like, why did you have to go up on the ceiling to do that?
Yeah.
I think the reason for that may have been like censorship. It's like it would have been too violent to have it happen too close to the camera.
Gotcha.
So if if we do the Jurassic Park lawyer thing where it's like, you have the figure be pretty small in the frame and then have him get whipped around, it's like, oh, it's less offensive to the kids and stuff. But yeah, he gets got real bad, as he should, because he's kind of been the bad guy up to this point, and he's a sleazy son of a bitch.
The ladies are fighting. Rachel Weisz gets a good, just like a quick little slice on an ox and a moon, and that was like, oh shit, I can't beat her, and she just takes off running.
Yeah,
and Rachel Weisz just like, bitch, and just going
she chases her down the fire tunnel.
Yeah, and they get to. Oh, I'm sorry. We get. Alex and Jonathan get to where Rick is like fighting and stuff, and they see the Scorpion King, and they both start.
It's pretty fucking funny.
It's really funny because Jonathan is really like, holy shit. The Magi they got through the first wave.
They fight long and hard, and then it appears that they won the fight.
Yeah.
And then Ardith Bay uses his spidey sense or something, and we get a really strange sequence of him running through a crowd out to like the other end of the line of soldiers, and he runs up on the top of a dune, and we know what's coming. But he gets to the top, and we see like in the distance just
World War Z.
Yeah, a tidal wave of just dog soldiers coming at him. So it's like all is lost, kind of. Like, unless the O'Connells, unless the white people do their part, like we're fucked.
Deus Ex white people get this shit done. He's just basically till death. He just yells like, "All right."
Yeah, it's not a William Wallace. It's not a William Wallace speech, but it solidarity. We're all gonna die. Cool.
Rick is like running around away from the Scorpion King, and he looks at like a stone carving of a dude, and he looks back at it, and it's got the Magi wrist tattoo, and he looks over that scepter that we've mentioned a few times is the spear, and he's just like, oh, that's how we have to kill him. So he's yelling.
They even have an image depicting the spear going into the torso.
You want to kill him? That's how you kill him.
Yeah. I do like his line where he's like, yeah, I'm a believer now.
Now I'm a believer. So he's like, I like how he's explaining it to Jonathan. He's like, it's a spear. And he's like, yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, that was pretty funny, actually.
I don't know.
They go back and forth a few times.
Yeah.
It's like, I know it doesn't look like a spear, but it totally is. He's like, I don't know.
So everybody's come to this room, and we get. So they turn into a spear, and Jonathan throws it at the Scorpion King.
Yeah.
Only to
stand back. I'm a professional.
And I love. This is one of my favorite scenes in this. Is I can't even do it. Emotep, Arnold Vosloo, is like crouched down behind a pillar off screen, and he goes to throw it, and he just jumps up and just like spins it around. He's like, ah!
Yeah, he does some Power Ranger shit with this.
And he's just like, now I'm gonna throw this motherfucker. So
yep.
He throws it. It's coming straight for the Scorpion King, and then CGI Brendan Fraser just comes in and grabs it.
Yeah.
So this is where it gets to be the funniest part.
Yeah.
Brendan Fraser does a little bit of running around. He has the spear, and he's about to get got by the Scorpion King. And as he's falling backwards into hell,
yes,
he stabs up.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, the Scorpion King has little hands inside his body holding the spear up, because O'Connell's at a 45-degree angle backwards.
You would slip out of him and just fall.
And this is my favorite. This is one of my favorite things. Do you have it written down?
I have it screen captured.
Oh my gosh.
I have 2 different shots of it screen captured.
So we have O'Connell. We have this scene where he stabs the Scorpion King. The Scorpion King looks at him, looks down, and we go back to this shot of Rick hanging, and Emotep comes into frame. They have been sitting there for about 5 seconds, and he comes into his knees. Ah,
no!
Oh, it's so funny. There's got to be a GIF of it somewhere.
So good, yeah.
Sorry, we had to take a little pause there to take a look at the picture because it's too funny.
But yeah, right before the Rock gets stabbed, he flashes a people's eyebrow. CGI Rock flashes a people's eyebrow because, of course. But what's really funny about the scene, it hadn't occurred to me until just now, is that you have a professional wrestler, arguably the most popular professional wrestler at that time, although
Austin 316.
Yeah, Stone Cold had him beat for sure. But the rules of this match are a triple threat match.
Yeah.
Where it's like you have three people and the singular winner of the contest is anybody can get pinned, so long as one of them gets pinned.
Yeah, Stone Cold just stunned Triple H.
Yeah.
And now...
No! So it's just really funny, the notion of people competing over who gets to kill The Rock. It's like a foregone conclusion. He's gonna get got.
Yeah.
It's just who gets to do it. But yeah, Scorpion King dies here. The whole army goes with him. Brendan Fraser gets to say his action movie tagline here, the go to hell and take your friends with you.
Yeah.
Which is actually not bad. The Rock's head appears in a giant black fart cloud. Yeah, over the pyramid. All the dog soldiers die. It's actually kind of cool how they actually run through the Magi, but turn to dust the instant they touch them.
Yeah.
And then like it gets pulled back like an undertow. And then Ardith Page just goes, oh!
Yeah. Really happy about that.
He's so happy he can't even say words.
Yeah, the Oasis is collapsing. So we thought we were out of danger. Now we're really not out of danger because it's basically going to suck-plode. It's going to, like...
Yeah,
suck.
The Oasis is being retracted into the pyramid, but in a dangerous fashion.
Yes.
And we get this really emotional moment where both Imhotep and Rick are hanging over the portal to hell. There's some like hell beasts like
pulling them in.
Yeah, pulling them in, and so they're both unable to pull themselves up. And then both of their wives are standing at a doorway watching this happen, and they both call for their wives, and only Evie comes.
Yeah.
Anuk Cinnamon takes off like a stone cold bitch.
This is a good. This was good.
Good Vosloo act.
Good Vosloo.
Good Vosloo act.
Because he's like he screams after her, and then he kind of tears up a little bit
When he has that just kind of like
Anuk Cinnamon.
when he has that moment of clarity where he's like,
he just he just accepts.
and
his
he's
death.
got the one tear in his eye, and he just like looks at the happy couple, and he's like, that should be
that
me.
really hurt.
Yeah, that really fucking hurt.
What a bitch.
I like that he doesn't do that. That would have been funny. It's like that guy in the YouTube video that gets tased.
Yeah, I figured he would just be, I'll get you, bitch.
That's what
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Imhotep does that.
Or he just rage, like, pulls himself up.
Imhotep's last words in ancient Egyptian, I'll get you, bitch.
I'll get you, bitch. Yeah.
But yeah, he lets himself get pulled into hell because he got nothing to live for anymore.
Yeah.
On the way out of the pyramid, Anuk Cinnamon meets her end. It's a fitting villain end. She falls into a pit of bugs.
The scarabs, yeah. Bad way to go.
Bad way to go.
Bad
Real
way
bad.
to go.
But Stephen Sommers is apparently a firm believer in bad people deserve bad things.
Correct.
So she gets a very Spielbergian end.
Anthony Heald definitely gets his. And,
An island! He gets his leg broke and then he gets blown the fuck up.
I don't know what he thought was going to happen when he jumped off that ship, but Jesus.
God, that compound fracture is tasty.
So bad. It is It is sharp bones.
Oh, man.
It's so gross.
So tasty.
So yeah, we the Deus Ex Machina.
Deus Ex Dizzy or Izzy.
Izzy was basically just like blowing air back into this balloon, getting it going again. Cause they're like at the top of the pyramid, or like they're close to the top of the pyramid, and he ends up getting them back in. And Jonathan ends up like hanging from his legs he's like, pull me up, and he sees this giant diamond thing. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah. It has a weird shape to it. It looks like a basket almost.
Yeah, something like that. And he's just like, put me down. And this thing has to weigh 100 pounds. I don't know how in the fuck.
It's a diamond the size of your torso.
It's enormous. And he picks it up. He's like, it's worth a fortune. And yeah, he's basically Abu from Aladdin. Or he's just, or Benny. They're just like gold crazy.
Yeah.
He ends up getting it up there, and they get out alive, obviously.
Yeah. No, all of our heroes escape. The jungle crashes into the pyramid, and we get the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull ending, where everything that was there is just completely buried in sand now, so it's like it was never there. And yeah, we're in the dirigible. We all exchanged some words, some generic, like, well, that was an adventure kind of shit.
Yeah. Can't wait for the third one.
Fuck!
There's Sasquatch.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Yetis and a whole bunch of characters we neither care about nor want to care about.
My God.
Man, how did...
It's so bad.
It's really bad. It's really bad.
I went in thinking
it has good people in it, too. He's like, I like Jet Li. Yeah. I like Michelle Yeoh. I like these people.
Not that bad.
But yeah, no. But yeah, the end of the movie, the last bits of spoken dialogue here are just like comedic banter between Izzy and Jonathan. Because the whole movie, it needs to be said, they've been fighting over that scepter.
Yeah.
And fighting over money, basically.
Pretty much.
So you have the two comedic support characters going at it, and the last shot is them like flying off towards the sunset in their dirigible past the pyramids. Yeah. But yeah, that was The Mummy Returns. As bad as it is in a lot of ways, obviously we had fun with it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I could probably put it, if I saw it on TV or something, I'd probably watch it. Yeah. Because it hit me at the right time.
Oh, if it's on Cinemax or like HBO, if it just starts playing, if they're in the tomb and she's doing the torch thing, I'm like, yep, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Good enough.
No, there's a lot of parts of it that, like I said, I didn't remember the whole movie front to back, but every part that was worth remembering, I remembered clear as day. Yeah. And it has that like nostalgia factor to it. It's like a warm blanket, where it's like, I was of a certain age when I saw the movie. Clearly, it had an impact on me. It's not a good film by any stretch. It's very much a product of its time, which, without the nostalgia factor, I fear that it probably has very little to offer people that are maybe a little younger than us.
Yeah.
Like, if you sat somebody down to watch this who was, like, 21 or 20 or something, they'd probably be like, what am I watching? Because so many of the effects don't hold up. It looks goofy. It looks kind of overly ambitious in a way that's like harmful to the overall enjoyment of the film.
Definitely better than the prequel to this movie, The Scorpion King. I would say is more or less a prequel.
I don't know. That movie has that like Conan the Destroyer feel to it. Yeah. That it's dumb, but it knows it's dumb, and it knows it's cheap. That's the main thing. Is that it's a small budget film that is just a adventure film, sword and sandals kind of shit. That it's like, we don't have money for all the CGI stuff, so let's just lean really heavy into the fact that we have The Rock leading the movie, and then let's have him. From a casting standpoint, there's a rule that I keep in the back of my mind. If you have X item and Y item, and you know X and Y about those things, you need to have them slam into each other. Mm-hmm. So the rule is, if you have The Rock and Vin Diesel, they have to slam into each other. Yeah. They have to. And if you have Michael Clark Duncan and The Rock, you have to have them punch each other. It's a rule.
Their fight was awesome.
Yeah, they destroyed that entire village. Yeah. It was hilarious. I loved it. I kind of enjoy The Scorpion King, and Kelly Hu is quite nice.
Yeah.
Kelly Hu is always welcome.
Never seen her in anything else, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
Martial Law, good times. Terrible show. X2 also.
I was gonna say she was in the second X-Men.
They didn't let her talk, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's fine.
She also got killed by Jason Voorhees.
I did not know that.
Jason Goes to Manhattan.
Oh my gosh,
it's the seventh one. I think.
I haven't seen. I've hardly seen.
Not good. It's not good.
I didn't think so.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us here at Catching Up on Cinema for our 50th episode. That being said, we look forward to 50 more.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.